The lighthouse keeper's last light. Have you ever thought about living alone, high up in a tower, watching the dark, endless ocean? For lighthouse keepers, that was their daily life. They lived on tiny islands or remote coastlines, cut off from the world. Their only company was the crashing waves and the seabirds' cries. Their job was simple but life-saving, to keep a strong light shining, guiding ships safely past danger and home. But here's the unsettling truth. Sometimes, in the most puzzling stories, these lone guardians of the light simply vanished. One moment they were there, a vital presence, and the next, only an empty space remained, gone. Imagine a small rocky island, far from any town. A sturdy lighthouse stands against the storms. Inside, a keeper carefully tended the lamp, cleaned the lens, and watched the weather. Then, a supply ship or a new keeper arrives and finds something chilling. The lighthouse is silent. Still, the door might be locked from inside, or perhaps it swings open in the wind. The keeper's meal sits cold on the table, a book left open. There's no sign of a fight, no boat missing, just an eerie quiet where a person used to be. It's like a puzzle with no obvious missing pieces. Yet the whole picture feels incomplete. This feeling of something being clearly present, then suddenly gone, can be hard to understand. Think about your own favorite, most important item, maybe a special ring, your best controller, or a cherished photo. You know exactly where it is. Now, imagine walking into your room, and that item is simply not there. No one took it, it didn't fall, it just vanished from a place you know so well. That confusing emptiness is a small echo of what these disappearances hint at. These stories make us pause and reflect. They hint at the vast, silent power of the unknown around us. Even in places we think we understand, they remind us that sometimes the world holds secrets so deep, so unexplained, that all we can do is stand in quiet thought, wondering about the last flicker of light before someone faded into the great mystery. It's a gentle reminder of how small we are, and how much we still don't grasp about the quiet, empty spaces around us. The Mary Celeste, a ship with no crew. Have you ever walked into an empty room, expecting to find someone, and felt that strange, unsettling quietness? Now, imagine that feeling across an entire ship, miles out at sea. This is the haunting beginning of the Mary Celeste's story. A vessel discovered adrift on a calm ocean in December 1872. Her sails were set, catching the wind. Below deck, valuable cargo was untouched. Food was ready in the galley, and the captain's logbook was open. But here's the thing. No one was aboard, not a single soul. The captain, his wife, their young daughter, and the whole crew all gone. They seemed to have vanished, leaving a perfectly good ship with no explanation. Just silence. This wasn't a ship wrecked by a storm or attacked by pirates, leaving chaos. It was found floating calmly, almost peacefully, as if waiting for its crew to return from a break they never took. Think about it like this. Imagine you come home, and your family's car is in the driveway, the front door unlocked, and a snack is on the counter. Your backpack is by the door, and the TV is on. But when you call out, there's no answer. No one is home, and there's no note, no sign of where they went or why. It would be confusing, scary even, right? That's the kind of chilling puzzle the Mary Celeste left behind. We look at this mystery and feel a deep sense of wonder and a shiver of fear. What force, seen or unseen, could make an entire group of people abandon a safe ship in the vast ocean? Was it a sudden panic, a silent threat, or something else entirely we can't grasp? The Mary Celeste reminds us that the world holds many secrets, sometimes hidden not in what we find, but in what vanishes without a trace. It's a quiet story that makes you pause, making you think about how fragile life can be, and how some profound questions might never find neat answers, only echoes softly in our minds. Amelia Earhart, lost over the wide ocean. Imagine flying for days, high above the clouds. The world looks tiny below. Then, suddenly, silence. No radio, no sign, just the endless blue of the ocean. What if you just vanished? That's the chilling story of Amelia Earhart. She wasn't just any pilot. She was a hero, a true trailblazer. When airplanes were new, she became the first woman to fly alone across the Atlantic. People admired her courage. In 1937, Amelia set out on her biggest adventure, flying around the world. It was a huge, daring challenge. She and her navigator, Fred Noonan, neared the end of their journey across the vast Pacific. They sought tiny Howland Island, a speck in the immense blue dot. Think about dropping a tiny button in a huge football field. Finding it feels impossible. Now, imagine that button is an airplane, and the field is an ocean thousands of times bigger. That's the scale. Weak radio signals, tricky navigation, fast-changing weather. One moment, her voice crackled on the radio, hopeful. The next, nothing, just silence. The ocean held its secrets. We search, we wonder, but the truth remains hidden. It shows how small we are against nature's power. Amelia Earhart's disappearance isn't just about one person. It's about the human spirit daring to explore. Despite risks, her bravery and dream inspire us to look beyond our limits. Sometimes, the deepest lessons come from questions never answered. We remember her not for how she vanished, but for how bravely she lived. The Bermuda Triangle, a place where people vanish. Imagine a place on Earth where things just vanish, not just things, but people. This is the story told about a part of the Atlantic Ocean, a triangle-shaped area between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. For decades, ships and planes have traveled into this space, and then, without a trace, they are gone. No distress calls, no wreckage, just ... nothing. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? To simply cease to exist, leaving only silence behind. These tales have woven themselves into our history, making us wonder about the hidden forces of our world. We build maps, we learn science, but then something like this reminds us how much we don't know. It makes us feel small, standing before something so vast and mysterious. The deep ocean holds so many secrets, and the Bermuda Triangle seems to guard one of the biggest ones. Think about a time you lost something really important, maybe a special photograph or a favorite small toy. You looked everywhere, you turned over furniture, you asked everyone, but it was just gone. Not misplaced, not hidden, but truly gone. That feeling of an empty space where something used to be, that's a tiny echo of the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. And here's the thing, this mystery, it touches something deep inside us. It's not just about lost ships and planes, it's about the silent questions that linger. It reminds us that even in a world full of answers, some things remain whispers in the wind, challenging our understanding. It asks us to accept that sometimes, the most profound truth is the quiet, unsolved puzzle, leaving us to wonder about the fragile line between presence and permanent absence. D.B. Cooper, the Skyjacker's amazing escape. Have you ever thought about what it would feel like to completely disappear, to step out of one life and simply vanish, leaving no trace, no whisper behind? It's a powerful idea, and sometimes a true story comes along that makes us wonder if such a thing is truly possible. That's the story of D.B. Cooper, a name that still echoes with mystery almost 50 years later. One night in November 1971, a man bought a plane ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He was calm, ordinary, but once the plane was in the air, he told a flight attendant he had a bomb. He demanded a large sum of money and several parachutes. After landing, he got his money, let the passengers go, and then, in the darkness and rain, he did something incredible. Somewhere over the wild, dark forests of the Pacific Northwest, D.B. Cooper jumped out of the plane with a parachute and a briefcase full of money. He just vanished. People searched. The FBI looked for years, but they never found him. Not a body, not the money, nothing. It was like he dissolved into the cold night air. This story fascinates us because it challenges everything we think we know about how people live and leave. It makes you think about how easily someone can become a ghost. Think about losing something really important, like a favorite drawing you made. You look everywhere, under the bed, in your backpack, maybe even the trash, but it's just gone. You wonder where it could be, how it could have just disappeared from your room. That feeling of an unsolved puzzle, that's what D.B. Cooper leaves us with. But on a much grander scale, his disappearance makes us think about freedom, about the unknown, and about the deep questions that have no easy answers. We want to know what happened, because knowing brings a kind of peace. But sometimes, the most profound stories are the ones that remain forever unfinished, inviting us to keep wondering about the limits of what we can ever truly know. The Beaumont children, gone from the beach. Have you ever stopped to think about how quickly an ordinary day can become extraordinary, but in a heartbreaking way? Imagine a simple summer morning, the kind where the sun feels warm on your skin and the ocean breeze whispers secrets. This is where our story begins. On a hot January day in 1966, in Adelaide, Australia, 3 children, Jane, Anna, and Grant Beaumont, aged 9, 7, and 4, left their home for a short walk. Their destination, Glenelg Beach, a place they knew well, just a few blocks away. They were going to swim, play in the sand, and come home, just like they always did. But they didn't come home. The concept here is simple and terrifying. People just vanished, not in a faraway jungle or stormy sea, but from a busy beach, in broad daylight. The children were last seen around noon, buying pasties at a shop, seemingly happy. Then, nothing. No trace, no struggle, no real witnesses. It was as if the earth had simply swallowed them whole. This wasn't just a local tragedy. It shook the entire country. Parents suddenly looked at their own kids with new worry, and public places, once safe, felt different. It showed everyone that sometimes, even in plain view, the unthinkable can happen. It's like when you're building a perfect tower of blocks. You stack them up, one by one, feeling proud. Then, without warning, one block, right in the middle, just disappears. Not knocked over, not hidden, just gone. The whole structure of what you thought was safe suddenly makes no sense. The Beaumont case is like that missing block. It leaves a gaping hole, a question mark where there should be answers. Sometimes, life presents mysteries with no neat solution, no satisfying ending. The Beaumont children's disappearance reminds us of how fragile our sense of security can be, and how some questions echo through time unsolved. Their story is a quiet reminder that not every puzzle has a missing piece waiting to be found. That absence, that silent, unexplained gap, can be the most profound lesson of all. The Dyatlov Pass, a chilling camp mystery. Imagine camping with friends, deep in a snowy wilderness. Your tent is set, warm and safe. Now, imagine waking suddenly to something so terrifying you cut your way out of your tent, not using the zipper, and run into the freezing cold. Barely dressed. This isn't a made-up story. It's what seems to have happened to 9 experienced hikers in Russia's Ural Mountains. Back in 1959, these young people were skilled adventurers, ready for their journey into the harsh mountains. But one cold night, their camp became a deep mystery. Here's the thing, their tent was torn from the inside. Footprints showed them walking away, some without shoes, into freezing temperatures. Months later, their bodies were found. The details made the puzzle stranger. Some had weird injuries, broken ribs or a skull fracture, but no clear signs of a fight. One person was even missing a tongue. No other people or struggle evidence was ever found. It's like playing a game, and suddenly the rules change for no reason you can understand. Or when a group project, something everyone knows how to do, suddenly goes completely wrong because of something nobody saw coming. What could make 9 experienced hikers leave their warm shelter in such extreme cold? What could cause such different, terrible injuries to people who were all together, with no sign of an attacker? This mystery makes us shiver. A quiet wonder about things we can't explain. It reminds us that even when we think we know how the world works, some events defy all logic. It leaves a quiet ache, a sense that some questions may never truly be answered. And that's why this story stays with us, a chilling whisper of the unknown, showing that sometimes the scariest things are the ones we just can't understand. The Roanoke colony. The word Croatoan left behind. Imagine walking into your own home, expecting to see your family, but finding it completely empty. Not just messy, but truly empty. Every person gone, without a trace. This feeling, this chilling silence, is what greeted John White in 1590. He was the governor of the Roanoke colony, an English settlement in what is now North Carolina. He had left his people, including his own daughter and granddaughter, 3 years earlier to get supplies from England. When he finally returned, after delays from war, the whole colony was gone. The houses were taken apart, the fort was empty. There was no sign of a fight, no distress, just absolute quiet. The only thing left behind was carved into a fence post, the word Croatoan, and on a nearby tree, the letters Crow were etched. Think about that. Your entire world, the people you cared about, just vanished, and all that's left is one single, puzzling word. It's like searching for your pet after they've run off, and all you find is a half-eaten snack where they usually sleep. It hints at something, but doesn't tell you anything for sure. What does Croatoan mean? It was the name of a nearby island and a Native American tribe. Did the settlers go there? Were they taken? Or was it a message of warning? That one word has echoed through history, a whisper of a question that has never been fully answered. It stands as a lonely clue, a piece of a story we can never complete. Sometimes, the most powerful mysteries are the ones that leave us with almost nothing at all. Just a hollow feeling and a single, haunting word, and it reminds us that some truths remain hidden, no matter how hard we search. Jim Thompson, the Silk King's final trip. Have you ever tried to find something important that just wasn't where it should be, like your phone or a favorite book? You search everywhere, retrace your steps, but it's just gone. Now, imagine if that something was a person. This is the strange, sad story of Jim Thompson. An American man, he became famous for something truly special in Thailand: silk. He loved Thai culture, bringing its beautiful, vibrant silk to the world and becoming famous. They called him the Silk King. He lived a life full of adventure. Then, one quiet Easter Sunday in 1967, Jim Thompson was on vacation in Malaysia's Cameron Highlands, staying at a friend's bungalow, a peaceful place surrounded by thick jungle. He decided to go for a short walk. He waved goodbye, stepped out the door, and simply vanished. No struggle, no scream, no clue left behind. It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but a critical piece is missing, and you can never see the full image. Imagine that feeling of something incomplete, but tied to a real person's life. Hundreds searched for him: soldiers, police, local trackers, even psychics. They scoured the jungle for days, but Jim Thompson was never found. Not a trace. His belongings were still in his room. His public life ended in a private, silent question mark. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How can someone so well known, in a seemingly safe area, just disappear without a single clue? It's a quiet reminder that sometimes, the world holds secrets too deep for us to uncover. We learn about letting go, about questions with no answers, and about the quiet power of the unknown. Frederick Valentich, a pilot's very strange call. Have you ever been talking on the phone, and the connection gets fuzzy, then just stops? It's unsettling, right? Now imagine that, but you're a pilot, alone in a small plane, high above the ocean, reporting something you can't explain. That's what happened to Frederick Valentich. October 1978, Frederick, a 20-year-old pilot, was on a routine trip across Australia's Bass Strait. He was heading to King Island to pick up oysters. The sky was clear, and all seemed normal. But then, he called air traffic control. His voice was calm at first, but soon, deep unease crept in. He told them he saw a large, fast aircraft above him, not like any plane he knew. It had 4 bright lights, playing a strange game, hovering right over his plane. He described it as metallic, shiny, and long. Air traffic control saw nothing on their radar. They said no other aircraft were in his area, but Frederick insisted, sounding more and more worried, almost breathless. Think about it. Imagine you're alone in your room, hearing a noise downstairs, but your family says no one else is home. You know what you heard, but they can't explain it. That's how isolated Frederick must have felt. Then, his final words came through, chillingly clear. He said, "My engine is rough idling, and I am just about to say, Delta Sierra Juliet, passing overhead of me." Delta Sierra Juliet was his plane's identification. After that, a strange, metallic, scraping sound filled the radio for about 17 seconds. Then, silence. Frederick Valentich and his plane simply vanished. No wreckage was ever found. No trace. This story leaves us with a heavy question. What was that sound? What did he see? It reminds us how much we don't understand about the world and the vastness of the sky. It's an unsettling thought that some mysteries remain mysteries, making us feel small, yet sparking wonder about the unknown. The USS Cyclops, a huge ship, just poof. Have you ever lost something important, like your phone, and searched everywhere, but it was just gone? Now, imagine that feeling, but it's not a small thing. It's an enormous ship, bigger than a football field, with hundreds of people aboard. That's the chilling, sad story of the USS Cyclops. This was a massive US Navy ship, built in 1910. Its job was to carry coal and supplies, like a giant floating delivery truck for the Navy. During World War I, in 1918, it sailed from Brazil to Baltimore, loaded with heavy manganese ore. There were 306 crew and passengers on board. Imagine all those lives, all those stories, sailing across the wide ocean. The Cyclops made one last stop in Barbados in early March. After that, it was supposed to go north. But here's the thing, it never arrived. No one ever heard from it again. No SOS message, no emergency signals, no wreckage found. It was like someone erased it from the planet. This wasn't a tiny fishing boat. This was one of the biggest ships in the Navy. Think about this. If your entire school, with everyone inside, just vanished overnight, and in the morning only an empty field was there. No broken windows, no scattered books, nothing. That's the sheer scale of this mystery. People talked about the Bermuda Triangle later, but the Cyclops disappearance is incredibly strange. It challenges what we think we know about ships and the ocean. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How can something so large, with so many people, vanish completely, leaving no trace? It's a quiet reminder that even now, there are vast, unexplained mysteries. The ocean holds secrets deeper than we can imagine. Sometimes, it just keeps them. This makes us feel small, but also makes us curious about the unknown. Bennington Triangle. People lost in the woods. Have you ever thought about what it means to truly vanish? Not just move away, but to disappear so completely that no one ever finds a trace of you. In the rugged, beautiful lands of Vermont, there's a place called the Bennington Triangle. It's an area known for its deep woods and winding trails, but also for something far more mysterious. People have disappeared there without a single clue. Here's the thing. In the 1940s, over just 5 years, 5 different people went missing in these very woods. Each story is chilling. There was a young college student, a seasoned hunter, a woman who simply walked away from her car, and more. They weren't found. No bodies, no backpacks, no signs of a struggle. It's like the forest just opened up and swallowed them whole. This isn't just a local legend. It's a series of real-life tragedies that baffled police and families alike. It makes you think about how we understand the world. We rely on maps, on footsteps, on the idea that every person leaves some kind of mark. But what if those rules don't apply? Imagine trying to find a specific grain of sand on a vast beach, knowing it was definitely there, but it's just gone. That's how these disappearances feel. A vital piece, completely erased, and that's why it matters. These tales remind us how wild and untamed nature can still be, even in places we think we know. It shows us that there are still mysteries that defy all our logic, challenging our comfort and our understanding. It makes us feel a quiet awe and a little shiver about the sheer power of the unknown and how easily we can become part of it. The Sorda children, a fire, then empty beds. Have you ever wondered what it truly means for someone to just disappear? Not like they moved away, but truly vanished without a single trace, even after a huge, terrible event. It's a thought that sits heavy in your mind. Picture this. It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in a quiet home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sorda family was fast asleep when a fire broke out. The parents, George and Jenny, and 4 children escaped, running into the cold night, screaming. But 5 other children, Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 10, Jenny, 8, and Betty, just 5, they never came out. The house burned fiercely. Firefighters searched the smoking ruins for any sign, but there was nothing. No bodies, no remains, just empty spaces where beds used to be. Don't think about it. When you burn paper in a campfire, you can still find little flakes of ash, right? Scientists say, for human bodies to disappear entirely in a regular house fire, it needs incredibly long super-hot temperatures, far hotter than this fire was believed to be. So, here's the puzzle. How could 5 children simply vanish into thin air? It's like if your favorite drawing was on your desk, and after a big storm, your room flooded. But the drawing wasn't just ruined, it was totally gone. It just doesn't make sense with how things burn. The Sorda parents never gave up hope. For their lives, they put up billboards, followed every lead, always aching for an answer. Imagine that constant pain, that huge unanswered question. This story reminds us that sometimes, even when tragedy strikes, the biggest mystery isn't what happened, but what didn't happen. The expected evidence that simply wasn't there. It leaves us with a deep sadness, not just for the children, but for a family left behind, forever wondering if their kids truly died in the flames, or if something else took them away. And that feeling of not knowing, it stays with you. Maura Murray, a car crash, then vanished. Have you ever thought about how quickly life can change? One moment, everything feels certain, and then, a question mark appears that never goes away. This is what happened on a cold winter night in New Hampshire. Back in 2004, Maura Murray was a college student, just 21 years old. She was driving her car when it crashed into a snowbank on a quiet road. Someone stopped to help her. They saw her there, alive, standing by her damaged car. They asked if she needed help, maybe for the police or an ambulance. Maura said no. She had already called for help, which wasn't true. The person drove off to call 911 because they were worried. But here's the problem. When the police arrived just minutes later, Maura was gone. She had vanished. Her car was still there, headlights on, doors unlocked. Her belongings were inside. But Maura herself had disappeared into the darkness. It's like she just stepped out of the world. This idea of someone simply ceasing to be, with no explanation, is deeply unsettling. Humans have always searched for meaning and closure. For centuries, people have told stories about loved ones who left and never returned, leaving only shadows and unanswered prayers. This feeling of not knowing, of a story left unfinished, is a heavy burden. Think about it like this. Imagine you're building a perfect tower of blocks, and right as you're about to place the very last one, it just disappears. The tower is there, but it's not complete. The space for that final block feels empty, a constant reminder of what's missing. That's what Maura's family and friends live with every day. So, what do we do when answers never come? Maybe we learn to live with the quiet question, accepting that some mysteries stay unsolved. It makes us realize how precious every shared moment is. It shows us how fragile the known world can be, and how some absences echo forever. Colonel Percy Fawcett, lost in the deep jungle. Have you ever thought about what it means for someone to simply vanish? Not just disappear from a room, but to step into a place so vast and wild that the world never sees them again. That's what happened to Colonel Percy Fawcett in 1925. He was an explorer, a man full of courage, and he believed a lost ancient city, which he called Z, was hidden deep in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil. Fawcett set out with his eldest son Jack and another friend. They packed their bags, said their goodbyes, and plunged into a place few had ever dared to go. The Amazon is not just a forest. It's a living, breathing, endless green ocean. Trees reach so high they blocked the sky, and rivers wind like giant snakes through a world mostly untouched by humans. Fawcett was searching for something legendary, a city whispered about in old tales, a symbol of a forgotten time. But the jungle is also a place that doesn't easily give up its secrets. One day, Fawcett sent a letter back, his last known message. He wrote of their plans to go deeper, beyond a point of no return. After that, silence. No more letters, no more sightings, just the immense quiet of the rainforest. It was as if the jungle itself had simply swallowed them whole. Think about a time you might have lost your phone or a favorite item in a messy room. You look everywhere, turning things over, feeling that frustration. But even then, you know it's somewhere. For Fawcett, it was different. Imagine searching for a single drop of water in the ocean, or trying to find a specific leaf in a forest with billions of them. That's the scale of the mystery surrounding him. Many people have tried to find traces of Fawcett and his team since then. Some went looking out of hope, others for adventure. Some even disappeared themselves. Their journey reminds us how small we are against the power of nature, and how some stories are destined to remain unfinished, whispering to us from the shadows of the unknown, asking questions that might never get an answer. It leaves us with a quiet sense of wonder and a deep respect for the wild heart of our world. The watchman of Monteca disappeared from his post. Imagine, someone is supposed to be right there. You expect them, they have a job to do, a place to be. But when you look, they're simply ... not. This isn't about someone running away or getting lost in a big city. This is about someone vanishing into thin air from a spot where they should have been completely safe. That's how the strange and unsettling story of the Watchman of Monteca begins. His name was Theodore Coney. It was a cold, quiet December night in 1918. The world was still recovering from a war, and life in small towns like Monteca, California, usually felt pretty predictable. Theodore had a clear duty to watch over the Spreckles Sugar Company. Building during the lonely hours after midnight, he was seen. He was on his shift, doing his rounds. Just like always, patrol officers checked on him around 1:30 a.m. Everything was normal. He was there, doing his job. But an hour later, at 2:30 a.m., they came back for another check. This time, something was terribly wrong. His lantern was gone, his lunch pail still sitting there. The door to the building was unlocked. And Theodore Coney, he had vanished without a trace. Think about that moment. No sign of a struggle. No footprints leading away in the dew-covered grass. just an empty post where a man had been minutes before. This isn't just someone leaving a job, or even a runaway. This is a person, a life, just erased from a moment in time, with no explanation at all. We humans really need things to make sense. We expect that if something happens, there's a reason. If you lose your favorite hoodie, you search for it, expecting to find it somewhere, maybe under your bed, or at a friend's house. The idea that it just disappeared from your closed room is unsettling, right? Now, imagine that feeling, but it's not a hoodie. It's a person, and you never, ever find them. There's no note, no clue, no way to even guess where they might have gone. The Watchman of Monteca reminds us that sometimes the world holds secrets too deep, too strange for us to ever truly understand. It shows how fragile our understanding of safety and certainty can be, and it leaves us wondering about those quiet, forgotten moments when a life can simply slip away, leaving only silence and a mystery that echoes through time, a permanent question mark in history. The Sarah Joe, an empty boat, found alone. Have you ever lost something important, something that just vanished, and you never found out what happened to it? That feeling of not knowing, that empty space where something used to be, can stay with you. Now, imagine that feeling, but it's about people, and a boat. This is the story of the Sarah Joe. In February of 1979, 5 young men went fishing off the coast of Maine. The ocean can be unpredictable, and a bad storm hit suddenly. The men and their boat, the Sarah Joe, were never seen again. For years, their families wondered, hoping, but mostly grieving. Then, 10 years later, in 1988, something incredible happened. A group of scientists on a remote island off the coast of Nova Scotia found a small boat. It was heavily damaged, battered by the sea, but it was there, and it was identified as the Sarah Joe. Here's the thing. The boat was empty. No sign of the 5 men, no bodies, no belongings, nothing. Just the boat, far from where it was last seen, lying alone on a distant shore. It's like if you lose your phone in your house. You search everywhere, give up, and then years later, find it in an impossible spot. But it's just the empty case. Where did the phone go? How did the case end up there? You just don't know. People have always looked at the sea with a mix of wonder and fear. For centuries, sailors have vanished, and the vast, powerful ocean has kept its secrets. It makes us think about how small we are, and how some mysteries might just be too big for us to solve. The Sarah Joe floats in our minds as a quiet reminder of that feeling. It reminds us that sometimes, life leaves us with only questions, and the biggest mystery is often the silence that follows. The Joy Eater, a ship adrift. No one inside imagined finding something where it clearly shouldn't be. Like a perfectly good bicycle, parked neatly, but its owner has just vanished. No sign of them anywhere. That strange, unsettling feeling is what people felt when they found the Joy. This wasn't a bike though. It was a 70-foot cargo ship, found drifting near Fiji in the vast Pacific Ocean in 1955. When rescuers boarded the Joy Eater, they discovered an impossible scene. The ship was mostly intact. Some pipes had burst, and it was taking on water, but it wasn't sinking. The life rafts were gone. But here's the unsettling part. All 25 people, who were supposed to be on board, the crew and passengers, were nowhere to be found. Their personal belongings were still there. Food was on the stove. Medicine was laid out. It was like everyone had just stepped off for a moment and never returned. This kind of mystery makes your mind race. It's not a story from a book. It really happened. It makes you wonder how something so sudden, so complete, could occur without a single clue. Think about it like this. You leave your backpack in your classroom during lunch. When you come back, your backpack is still there. Your books, your pens, everything. But your teacher and all your classmates are completely gone, and no one saw them leave. How confusing and frightening would that be? The Joy Eater remains one of history's most baffling ghost ship tales, not because it was haunted, but because of the sheer, silent absence of human life. It leaves us with a deep, quiet sadness. The ocean, sometimes, can simply swallow stories whole, leaving only an empty vessel and endless questions about the fate of those who once filled its decks with life. And that's a thought that truly stays with you. Flight 19. The lost squadron of planes. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to just disappear? To be there one moment and gone the next, with no trace left behind? That's what happened with Flight 19, a story that still gives people chills. It was December 1945, not long after World War II ended. 5 Navy planes, called Avengers, took off from Florida for a routine training flight. 5 planes, each with a crew, full of life, flying over the ocean. But something went wrong, really wrong. Their leader, a skilled pilot named Lieutenant Charles Taylor, reported that his compasses weren't working. He couldn't tell which way was which. The weather got bad. The sea looked strange and choppy. Ground control heard their calls, confused and scared, wondering where they were, saying they were completely lost. Then, the voices faded. The signals stopped. Those 5 planes, 15 men in total, vanished. Just gone. Search teams went out immediately, covering huge areas of the sea, but they found nothing. Not a single piece of wreckage, not a life raft, nothing at all to suggest what had happened. It's like playing hide and seek in a massive, endless forest, but the person hiding somehow completely evaporates. You look everywhere, call their name, but the forest just swallows them up. Except here, the forest was the vast, dark ocean, and the stakes were so much higher. And here's the thing. A rescue plane, a large Mariner flying boat, was sent to look for them. But that plane, with its own crew of 13 men, also disappeared. 2 separate groups of planes, all gone, on the same day. This story reminds us how small we can be against the power of nature. How quickly something understood can become completely unknown. We want answers. We try to solve every puzzle. But sometimes, the world holds on to its secrets tightly. Sometimes, the only thing left is the heavy quiet of questions that will never truly be answered, leaving us to wonder about those lost souls and the silent sea. Blair Adams, a man on the run, then gone. Have you ever felt like you just had to get away, even if you couldn't name what it was? Imagine that feeling as deep terror, pushing you to run for your life. That's what seemed to happen to Blair Adams. His story is a mystery that leaves you confused and sad, a puzzle piece that just doesn't fit. Blair was a regular Canadian man, but in 1996, his life took a strange turn. He emptied his bank account, bought a plane ticket he never used. He rented a car, drove far, then left it. He called his family, terrified, talking about threats. His fear was heartbreaking. He ended up hundreds of miles from home. People saw him frantically trying to get a ride, looking over his shoulder. Witnesses said he was scared, desperate, running from an invisible enemy. The next day, he was found dead in a field. His wallet with cash was untouched. No signs of struggle. No clear reason for his death. He was just gone. And that's the hardest part. We usually feel safe. But Blair's story reminds us that a person can feel terribly hunted, even without a visible chase. Think about a sudden noise at home making your mind create a scary story. For Blair, that feeling was so real, it shaped his final, desperate actions. It makes you wonder, what fear was so powerful it sent him on such a wild journey? Was it real, or a dark shadow in his mind? His lonely, unexplained disappearance leaves us with an unsettling thought. Sometimes, the deepest mysteries aren't about where someone went, but what haunted them so terribly. The Springfield 3, missing from home. Imagine walking into your house, a place you know so well, and someone who should be there, who was there just hours ago, is simply gone. Not a sound, no sign of a struggle, just an echoing quiet where laughter or conversation used to be. This is the chilling heart of the story of the Springfield 3. It happened on a warm summer night in June 1992 in Springfield, Missouri. 3 women, a mother, Cheryl Levitt, and 2 friends, Suzanne Streeter and Stacy McCall, spent the evening together. The next morning, they were gone. Their cars sat waiting in the driveway. Their purses, keys, and even Cheryl's dog were found inside the home. It was like they had all stepped out for a moment and then simply vanished from existence, leaving everything behind. The only unusual detail was a shattered porch light, a small crack in the night that offered no real answers. This case challenges one of our deepest, most basic understandings, that our homes are safe. Since the very first fires were built in caves, humans have created shelters. We build walls not just for warmth, but for protection, for a feeling of security from the unknown outside. Home is supposed to be our refuge, the one place where we can truly relax and let our guard down. Don't think about your own bedroom, your space. You know it smells, it sounds, every item in it. You feel completely safe there, right? Now, what if one morning your favorite book, the one you left on your nightstand, was just gone? No open window, no one else home, just gone. That small, unsettling feeling of something familiar disappearing, without explanation, is a tiny glimpse into the vast mystery of the Springfield 3. The disappearance of Suzanne, Stacy, and Cheryl pulls at a very deep thread within us. It forces us to confront how fragile our sense of security truly is, even in the most familiar places. These kinds of stories make us quietly wonder about the limits of what we know, and the profound, sometimes unsettling, mysteries that can touch our lives in the places we least expect. It leaves us with a heavy, lasting question. What truly makes a place safe? And what happens when that safety just walks away? The Somerton Man, a beach mystery with no name. Have you ever thought about how much of who you are is tied to your name, your family, or even just the things you own? What if all of that just disappeared? This is the chilling feeling at the heart of the Somerton Man mystery. It's about a man found on a quiet beach in Australia, but with no trace of who he was. No wallet, no ID. No one ever came forward to say they knew him. It's a puzzle that has haunted people for generations, making us think about the deepest parts of identity and loss. Here's what happened. In December of 1948, a man was found dead on Somerton Beach in Adelaide. He was well dressed, but every label had been cut from his clothes. He had strange, unused train tickets in his pocket. But the biggest clue, and the most mysterious one, was a tiny piece of paper found in a secret pocket sewn into his trousers. On it were just 2 words, Tamam Shud. This phrase, from an ancient Persian poetry book, means finished or ended. The book it came from was later found, and inside, it held a strange, coded message and an unknown phone number. But even with these clues, no one could figure out who he was, or why he died. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to read a story, but someone ripped out the first chapter, the last chapter, and most of the main character's pages. You have little clues, maybe a torn page here or there, but the full story is lost. That's how it feels with the Somerton Man. It's not just a police case, it's a deep human mystery. It makes us wonder about the quiet, hidden lives people lead. It's a reminder that sometimes, even after a life is lived, the story of who someone was can simply vanish, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a profound sense of wonder. The Yuba County 5, a weird night, lost friends. Have you ever been with your friends? Maybe after a game or a concert, and everything feels normal, just like any other night. You're laughing, making plans, but what if that familiar, safe feeling suddenly vanished and things turned incredibly strange? That's what happened to 5 young men from Yuba County, California. In 1978, they were close friends, all with mild intellectual disabilities, and they loved basketball. One cold February night, they drove to watch a game, but on their way home, their car got stuck in a deep snowdrift on a lonely mountain road. Here's the thing, they didn't stay in the car, they left it, even though it offered shelter, and a clear path to safety wasn't far away. Imagine being stuck in the middle of nowhere, cold and scared. Your mind might start playing tricks on you, making it hard to think straight. It's like when you're really sleepy and you put your phone in the fridge instead of the charger, a small, odd choice that makes no sense later. But for these 5 friends, their choices led them down a path that still baffles everyone. Why did they leave the car? Why didn't they stick together? Their friends vanished into the night. Weeks later, 4 of the men were found. One was in a remote trailer, far up the mountain, almost 20 miles from their car. Another was found further away, just bones, in a place no one would think to go. The other 2 were found near the trailer, but in different spots. The 5th friend was never found. Their deaths were tragic, filled with unanswered questions. It's a story that reminds us how easily things can go wrong, and how sometimes, even when we search for every reason, the truth stays hidden, a heavy secret in the cold, quiet mountains. MH370, the giant plane that simply vanished. Have you ever looked up at the sky and seen a huge airplane flying high, knowing hundreds of people are inside? Imagine that giant plane, with everyone on board, just disappearing into thin air. Gone, no trace, no explanation. It feels impossible, doesn't it? But that's exactly what happened on March 8, 2014. To Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. This was a Boeing 777, one of the biggest, most advanced planes in the world. It left Kuala Lumpur, heading for Beijing, carrying 239 souls, but it never arrived. Instead, it turned from its path and vanished. For years, people have searched vast areas of the ocean, using incredible technology, but the main part of the plane remains undiscovered. In our modern world, we usually track everything. We have satellites, radar, and GPS that tell us where things are, almost instantly. It feels like nothing can truly vanish without a trace anymore. So, when something as massive as a passenger jet disappears, it shakes our understanding of what's possible. It challenges how much control we really have over our world. For thousands of years, people feared the unknown, like monsters in the ocean or curses. We thought we had moved past that, with science shining a light on every dark corner. But here's the thing, MH370 showed us that some shadows remain, even in our brightest age. It's like when you've lost something really important, like a favorite toy or even a pet, and you search everywhere, calling their name, but they're just not there. The silence feels huge, and you can't stop wondering. This is that feeling, but on a global scale. For hundreds of families, the mystery of MH370 is more than just a missing plane. It's a missing piece of so many lives. It reminds us of how fragile certainty can be, and that's why it matters. It makes us think about the vastness of our planet, the limits of our knowledge, and the profound human need for closure. The silence around MH370 speaks loudly, a quiet echo of things we just can't explain, leaving us with a humble awe for the world's enduring secrets and a deep empathy for those who live with the unanswered questions. The Alaskan Triangle. People gone in the wild north. Have you ever looked at a giant map and wondered about the places colored green, where towns and roads just stop? Imagine a part of the world so incredibly vast, so untouched, that things can just disappear there, as if swallowed by the land itself. This is the idea behind the Alaskan Triangle. Not a real triangle on a map, but a huge area of rugged wilderness stretching across Alaska. Here, over many decades, an unusual number of people, small planes, and even whole crews have vanished without a single trace. They just leave their last known location and are never seen or heard from again. This land is ancient, full of towering mountains, thick forests that go on forever, and icy tundras that whisper in the wind. It's a place where human footsteps are rare. For a long time, the native peoples living there have understood the wilderness has its own powerful will. Their stories sometimes speak of spirits or unseen forces that claim what they wish from the remote lands. It's not about magic tricks. Instead, it's about a raw, untamed force that reminds us how small we really are. Think about when you're building something with tiny Lego pieces and one small brick falls onto a huge, shaggy rug. You search and search, but it's just gone, swallowed by all those fibers. The Alaskan wilderness is like that, but on a massive scale. A single person, a small plane, they are just tiny specks against endless trees, deep canyons, and vast snowfields. It's not hard for something to simply vanish. The sheer size of it means search efforts can often feel like looking for that Lego brick in a stadium-sized carpet. So, this isn't about spooky curses or aliens. This is about the profound, humbling power of nature. It shows us how fragile our presence can be. Even with our best maps and technology, the wild north keeps its secrets close. It reminds us that some parts of the world remain truly untamed, holding on to their mysteries with a quiet, powerful strength. And sometimes, the deepest answer we find is simply that we don't know, and that silence can be the most powerful story of all. The Franklin expedition. Frozen ships, lost sailors. Have you ever felt completely cut off? No phone, no internet, no way to tell anyone where you are. Now imagine that feeling for years, trapped in a world of ice and endless white. This is the haunting story of the Franklin expedition. In the 1840s, two strong British ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, set off. Their goal was huge. Find a sea path, the Northwest Passage, through the Arctic. It would connect two oceans. Sir John Franklin led 128 other men. They were brave, prepared with years of supplies, and very confident. But the Arctic, a place of extreme cold, had other plans. The ships sailed into the ice, and then they just vanished. For a long time, no one knew what happened. It was like a whole school team and their bus just drove away and never came back. Think how scary that would be. Later, search teams found clues, graves on frozen islands, notes, and pieces of the ships. Ice had crushed them. We know their ships got stuck, frozen solid. The men left the ships, hoping to walk hundreds of miles across the ice to safety. But the Arctic is not kind. It's huge, harsh, and terribly quiet. They faced hunger, bitter cold, and likely poison from their canned food. Slowly, one by one, all 129 men died. Their hopes, last steps, disappeared into the snow. What each man thought in their final days still gives us chills. It reminds us how mighty nature is, and how small we can sometimes be. Even with our best plans, some parts of the world can swallow you whole. They leave only silence and a cold, deep question mark. This makes you think how precious life is, and how much we hope for a little kindness from the world. Anjikuni Lake, a village that went quiet. Have you ever walked into a room expecting to see someone, but it's completely empty? Now, imagine that feeling, but stretched across an entire village. That's a bit like the chilling story from Anjikuni Lake in Canada, back in 1930. Here's what happened. A fur trapper named Joe LaBelle was making his way through the freezing landscape. He knew an Inuit village was near the lake, and he planned to stop there. But when he arrived, something was very wrong. The village was there, but no one was. Every single person, gone. Just quiet. Too quiet. He found fires still burning in some of the igloos. Dinner pots with food still cooking. Tools were laid out, ready for use. It seemed like people had just stepped away, but they never came back. No footprints led away. There were no signs of a struggle, nothing hinting at a fight or hurried exit. He even found several sled dogs, starved and buried in the snow. This was puzzling, as Inuit people value their dogs highly. It's like when you're playing a game with friends, and you step away for a second, then come back, and everyone's vanished. No note, no message, just empty space where laughter and voices used to be. That pit in your stomach feeling, that's what this mystery leaves. It makes you wonder how an entire community could simply vanish into thin air. This story isn't just about people disappearing, it's about the heavy silence they left behind. It reminds us that sometimes, in this big, old world, there are moments that just don't make sense. And sometimes, the most haunting thing isn't what happened, but the answers that never came. It shows how precious and fragile our connections are, and how much we feel the absence when someone is suddenly gone. Bison Dele, an NBA star's sad mystery. Imagine having everything you thought you wanted. Fame, money, the cheers of thousands of fans. But what if, deep down, you felt something was missing? What if you decided to walk away from it all, only to disappear forever? That's the sad, mysterious story of Bison Dele. He was once known as Brian Williams, a talented basketball player in the NBA. He played for big teams, even won a championship with the Chicago Bulls. But at just 30 years old, he quit. He changed his name to Bison Dele, wanting to connect with his heritage and embrace adventure. He sold his belongings, bought a catamaran, a kind of sailboat, and began traveling. He wanted freedom, to live outside the pressure. It was like deciding to skip a big party everyone expects you to attend, just to stargaze instead. He was choosing his own path, or so it seemed. In July 2002, Bison set sail from Tahiti with his girlfriend, Serena Carlin, and the boat's captain. Also on board was his older brother, Miles DeBoard. A few days later, DeBoard was the only one found. He returned alone to the US and tried to use his brother's passport. But here's the problem. Bison, Serena, and the captain were never seen again. Miles DeBoard eventually told his girlfriend he had fought with his brother, and everyone on the boat had died. Then, DeBoard himself fell into a coma and passed away, taking any real answers with him. It leaves us with a heavy feeling. A talented athlete, someone who searched for a different kind of happiness, just vanished. It reminds us that sometimes, the greatest dangers aren't far-off monsters. Instead, troubles can come from closer than we could ever imagine. And that's why it matters, even when people chase dreams and seek peace. Life can take unexpected, tragic turns, leaving us only with silence and questions. Dorothy Arnold, a walk, then nothing. Have you ever just walked out your front door, expecting to come back? Most of us do. But imagine if you didn't. What if an ordinary walk ended, and you were never seen again? That's the chilling story of Dorothy Arnold. It was December 12, 1910, in New York City. Dorothy was 25, from a wealthy family. She told her mother she was going shopping for a dress. She waved goodbye, a simple, everyday act. She was last seen near a bookstore on Fifth Avenue, a busy street, and then, she was gone. Just like that. Think about drawing a picture on a whiteboard. You add all the details. Then, someone erases just one part, one person. Not the whole drawing, just that one figure. That's what happened to Dorothy Arnold. She was a vibrant part of her family. Then, suddenly, she was gone from their world, leaving a blank space where she should have been. Her family was frantic. They searched. They even hired private detectives, keeping it quiet at first. But Dorothy didn't reappear. Days turned into weeks, then months, and years. Theories came up. Did she run away? Did she take her own life? Or did something terrible happen? The police got involved, but no clues ever led to Dorothy. It was as if she vanished into thin air. Her disappearance left a deep ache for her family for generations. It reminds us how fragile life can be, how quickly someone familiar becomes a haunting absence. Sometimes, the biggest mysteries start with a simple walk, and end with nothing but silence. Owen Parfitt vanished from his chair. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like if someone you loved simply vanished? Not left, not walked away, but disappeared right in front of your eyes. That's what happened one sunny afternoon in June 1763, with a man named Owen Parfitt. Owen lived in a small English village. He was a man who couldn't use his legs well after an injury, so he spent his days in a chair by the fireplace. His sister Susanna cared for him. On this particular day, storm clouds were gathering, and she had stepped out for just a moment to warn the neighbors about the weather. Owen was right where she left him, quiet, still, watching the room. But when Susanna came back, a few minutes later, the chair was empty. Owen was gone. His clothes, carefully folded, were still on the chair. The fire still crackled. But Owen himself, he had vanished. It wasn't like he could have walked away, or even crawled quickly. And the house was locked, the doors still bolted. Imagine that feeling of absolute disbelief, a cold dread washing over you as the impossible stares back. No sign of a struggle, no broken window, no secret tunnel, just emptiness. This wasn't a time with cameras or quick police responses. People were left to wonder, to search, to simply cope with the baffling hole left behind. It's like when you're looking right at your phone on your desk, turn away for a second, and then it's just not there. But this was a person, a life. Owen's story leaves a quiet ache, a sense that the world holds mysteries deeper than we understand. It makes you pause and think about what it truly means to exist, and how fragile our grasp on reality can be. Sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that never give us an answer, only an endless question. The Lady Be Good, a bomber lost in the Sandhave. You ever lost something important, something that just vanished? Imagine that feeling, but across years, across a huge, empty desert. That's the haunting story of the Lady Be Good. In 1943, during World War II, an American B-24 bomber took off from Libya. 9 young crew members aboard. They finished their mission, but on the way back, something went wrong. Lost in darkness, they flew past their base, deep into the unforgiving Sahara. The Sahara is immense. It swallows things whole. For 15 years, the Lady Be Good was a ghost, a mystery. Families wondered. Then, in 1959, an oil team flew over the desolate Libyan desert. Below them, something impossible appeared. A B-24 bomber, almost perfectly intact, as if time stopped. It was the Lady Be Good. The sight was strange and sad. The plane looked like it landed yesterday, but waited over a decade. No one was inside. Here's the thing. The crew had bailed out, hoping to walk to safety. They tried with amazing courage, walking for days, over 85 miles across the sands. Their bodies were found months later, scattered, a testament to their desperate struggle. It's like losing a favorite ring in a huge, endless field. You know it's there, but the world is so vast it feels impossible to find. For the Lady Be Good, the field was the entire Sahara. This story makes you think about our place in nature, and the strength of human will. The desert held its secret, showing some things vanish, then reappear, untouched. It carries a quiet story of loss, courage, and the lasting secrets the earth holds. Michael Rockefeller, lost among faraway tribes. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to disappear, to truly vanish? This is a story about Michael Rockefeller, a young man from one of America's richest, most famous families. In 1961, he traveled to the remote lands of Papua New Guinea. He wasn't looking for treasure, but for amazing art from the Asmat people, a tribe deep in the jungle. He wanted to understand their culture, to bring pieces of their world back. But here's the thing. Michael's journey took a tragic turn. His boat capsized in rough seas. He decided to swim for shore, leaving his friend behind. He set off into the vast, unknown waters, and then, he was gone. Just like that, his family launched a massive search, but they found no sign of him. No body, no clue that truly explained what happened. Imagine being far from everything you know. You're in a place where people speak a language you don't understand. where their traditions are different. It's like being in a new game where you don't know any of the rules. Michael entered a world where life and death were seen differently, where the laws of the land were ancient and harsh. Some believe he drowned, others whisper he made it to shore, but was met by the Asmat people, perhaps not in a friendly way. Their customs were very different from anything he'd known. For his family, the ocean never gave up its secret. It's a quiet ache, a question mark hanging in the air for decades. It reminds us how vast our world still is, how much remains unknown. It shows how easily even the most privileged can become just another story lost to the wind and waves, echoing a silent, profound sadness. The Lost Dauphin, a young prince's secret fate. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to just vanish, to be there one day, then gone the next, leaving only questions? This is the heartbreaking mystery of Louis XVII, the young prince of France, known as the Dauphin. He was born a prince, son of King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. Then came the French Revolution, a time of huge, violent change. The royal family lost everything. They were imprisoned, their world collapsing. Both his parents were executed, leaving young Louis alone, locked away in a tower. He was just a boy, confused and terrified. The official story says he died there, sick and neglected. In 1795, he was only 10 years old, but his death was never fully proven. His body was quickly buried in a common grave, its identity never truly confirmed. So, did he really die in that dark prison? Or was he secretly helped to escape, perhaps by loyalists hoping to save him? This question has puzzled people for centuries. It's like losing a special photograph. You search, you ask, but it's just gone. That feeling of not knowing, of a missing puzzle piece, can stay with you. The mystery of the Dauphin reminds us how fragile life can be, especially when big changes happen. His fate remains a question mark. Sometimes, the deepest sadness comes not from knowing, but from never finding out. It's a somber thought, a young life ending in a silent question, forever lost to history. Henry Hudson, the explorer left behind. Have you ever imagined being very far from home, in a huge, wild place, and suddenly, everyone you trusted turns against you? That's what happened to Henry Hudson, a famous explorer from centuries ago. He was searching for a new path through North America, hoping to find a shortcut to Asia. His ship, the Discovery, had sailed deep into what we now call Hudson Bay, and winter was closing in, trapping them in ice. The crew was scared, cold, and tired of the endless journey. They felt like Hudson was pushing them too hard. So, in a shocking act of mutiny, they took over the ship. They didn't just leave him on an island. Instead, they forced Hudson, his young son, and several sick or loyal crew members into a small, open boat. Then, they simply cut the rope and sailed away. Imagine that feeling, adrift in the vast, icy waters of an unknown wilderness, abandoned by the very people you had led. It's a bit like being left out by your entire friend group on a field trip, but in a place where there are no roads, no houses, and no way to call for help. You're completely alone, with no way back. No one ever saw Henry Hudson or his companions again. Their fate remains one of history's most chilling mysteries. Did they survive for a time? Did they find a remote shore, only to face the harsh elements? Or did the cold, the hunger, or the sheer despair claim them quickly? Their story makes you think about how quickly everything can change. It reminds us that sometimes, the greatest dangers aren't just storms or uncharted lands, but the desperation and fear that can turn people against each other, leaving only silence in their wake. The SS Bachimo, the ghost ship of the Arctic half. You ever lost something important, only for it to pop up again in the most unexpected way? Now, imagine that something wasn't a lost phone or a favorite hoodie, but a huge ship. And imagine it happened not just once, but over and over, for decades, in the freezing, lonely Arctic. This is the story of the SS Bachimo, a ship that became known as the ghost ship of the Arctic. Here's what happened. The Bachimo was a cargo ship, strong and built for the harsh conditions of the far north. In 1931, it got trapped in thick ice off the coast of Alaska. The weather was terrible, a true blizzard. The crew tried everything, but the ice held it tight. They knew it was too dangerous to stay, so they left the ship, thinking it would sink or be crushed by the ice. They walked away, probably feeling sad and defeated. But that wasn't the end for the Bachimo. A few days later, a hunter saw the ship, still floating, a little further away. It looked like a silent challenge to the ice that tried to claim it. Over the next several decades, People kept seeing the SS Bait. It drifted through the icy waters, sometimes spotted hundreds of miles from where it was first abandoned. Each time, it was empty, cold, and a little more damaged by the brutal Arctic winds. Yet, it never sank. People tried to board it, to salvage it, but the ice or weather always made it impossible, or the ship would simply vanish again, only to reappear months or years later. It's kind of like losing your backpack on a school trip, then hearing stories about it showing up in different classrooms, completely empty, just sitting there in a chair for years. You'd wonder how it kept moving, right? The Beichimo was like that, a silent traveler, refusing to rest. It became a legend, a vessel of whispers and unanswered questions. How did it keep escaping the crushing ice and the deep sea? Why did it seem to defy its own fate? The story of the SS Beichimo makes you think about things that are just beyond our understanding. The Arctic is a vast, powerful place, and sometimes it seems to hold its own secrets, letting things happen that don't fit our logic. It reminds us that nature has a will of its own, and some mysteries, like a silent ship drifting for decades, are simply left for us to wonder about, a quiet echo in the cold, empty waters. Lars Mittank, a tourist's sudden dash, then gone. What makes a person suddenly run from everything they know, from safety itself, and disappear into thin air? Sometimes, the most puzzling mysteries are not about grand secrets, but about the very human experience of fear and the unknown. Lars Mittank's story makes us wonder about the hidden corners of the mind. Lars was a young German man on vacation in Bulgaria. He was having a great time with his friends, but then something went wrong. He got into an argument and hurt his ear so badly that a doctor told him he couldn't fly home yet. His friends had to leave without him, and Lars was left alone in a strange country, waiting for his ear to heal. During this time, Lars reportedly started acting differently. He called his mum, sounding scared, saying he didn't feel safe, that he was being watched. Imagine being all alone, far from home, with a growing sense of dread you can't quite explain. You are feeling vulnerable, and your mind might start playing tricks on you, making shadows seem like threats. That's a bit like when you're home alone at night, and every creak of the house sounds like footsteps, even though you know it's just the old house settling. On the day he was supposed to fly home, Lars was at the airport. He spoke briefly with an airport doctor, but then, for reasons no one fully understands, he suddenly stood up, looked panicked, and ran. He didn't just walk away, he bolted. He ran out of the airport, jumped over a fence, and vanished into the thick woods nearby. That was the last time anyone ever saw Lars Mittank. His sudden dash leaves us with so many questions. What could have been so terrifying that it made him abandon his plane ticket, his luggage, his entire life, and run blindly into the unknown? We often search for logical reasons for everything, but sometimes life throws us a moment where logic simply doesn't apply. His story is a powerful reminder of how fragile our sense of security can be, and how quickly a normal day can turn into an enduring, heartbreaking mystery for those left behind, forever wondering what truly happened. The man from Tord, a traveler from nowhere. Have you ever felt completely out of place? Like you landed in a world that wasn't quite yours? Imagine that feeling, multiplied by 1,000. That's how we might begin to understand the mystery of the man from TA. You read. It was 1954. A busy summer in Tokyo. A man arrived at the airport, looking just like anyone else. He presented his passport, but here's the thing. His passport was from a country called Tord. The customs officials looked confused. They had never heard of Tord. They checked maps. No country by that name existed anywhere in the world. The man was just as confused as they were. He insisted Tord was a real place, that it had been around for 1,000 years. He showed them stamps in his passport from other countries. He spoke several languages. When they showed him a map, he pointed to an area between France and Spain, where Andorra is now. He seemed genuinely distressed, unable to understand why no one knew his home. His face held a deep, quiet sadness. It was like his entire life was being erased before his eyes. Here's what I found. Some people wonder if he slipped through from a parallel universe. Think of it like this. Imagine there are countless versions of a story, each one slightly different. Maybe in one version, Tord exists instead of or perhaps, like a glitch in a video game, he just appeared where he shouldn't be. It's a bit like when you swear you left your keys in one spot, but they show up somewhere totally impossible. For him, his whole reality was in that impossible spot. The officials put him in a hotel room with guards while they tried to figure things out. But the next morning, he was gone, vanished. The man from toward, a traveler from nowhere, had returned to ... somewhere. What must it feel like to know your home, your history, your very identity, exists only in your mind, or perhaps in another reality? It leaves us with a quiet ache, a sense that the world might be far stranger and lonelier than we ever imagined. Elisa Lam, a hotel tank's strange secret. Have you ever thought about the hidden spaces in the world? The ones right in front of us that we never notice? Sometimes, the most unsettling mysteries are found in the most unlikely places. This is the story of Elisa Lam, a young woman who vanished from a hotel and was found in a place no one expected. Elisa was staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. It's a place with a long, sometimes dark past. She was just traveling, exploring, but then she disappeared. Her family worried. The police searched, but there was no sign of her anywhere. The last video of her was strange, showing her acting oddly in an elevator. People watched it over and over, trying to understand. But here's the thing. Weeks later, hotel guests started complaining. The water pressure was low, and the water tasted strange. When a maintenance worker went to check the water tanks on the roof, that's where they found Elisa. She was inside one of the huge sealed tanks that provided water for the whole hotel. Think about that for a moment. How could someone get into a locked tank on a locked roof without being seen? The lid was heavy, almost impossible to open from the inside. This discovery sent shivers down people's spines. It felt impossible, like something out of a dream. That's a bit like when you lose something important, like your house keys. You search everywhere, checking all the usual spots again and again. You turn your room upside down, and then you find them in the most absurd place, a spot you would never think to look, maybe in the sugar bowl, or tucked inside a shoe you haven't worn in weeks. You just stand there, wondering, how did they get there, and why? Elisa Lam's case is like that, but so much deeper, so much more chilling. It reminds us that some questions might never have easy answers. Some events just hang in the air, leaving us to wonder about the hidden pathways of life and death. The world holds secrets we can't always solve, and that quiet mystery can stay with us for a very long time. The Orang Medan, a crew found dead. No marks. What if you found a ship floating all alone, silent on the wide open sea, and everyone aboard was dead? Not just any dead, but frozen in place, some reaching out, their faces twisted in fear, yet with no wounds, no signs of a fight. This isn't a made-up story. It's the chilling legend of the Orang Medan. Around the late 1940s, a distress call echoed across the shipping lanes near the Strait of Malacca. The message was fragmented, desperate. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and on the bridge. Possibly the entire crew is dead. Then a terrifying, final whisper, "I die." A nearby ship, the Silver Star, raced to help. When they finally boarded the Orang Medan, the sight was horrifying. The entire crew was dead, strewn across the decks, in the engine room, even the ship's dog. Their eyes were wide open, looking at something unseen, mouths agape. But here's the thing that makes it so deeply unsettling. There wasn't a single mark on any of them. No blood, no injuries, no bullets, no obvious reason why they had all died at once. In such terror, it's like when you're playing a video game, and suddenly, for no reason you can figure out, your character just stops, frozen, before collapsing. No enemy hit them, no traps were sprung. The game just glitched in a final, irreversible way. The Orang Medan was like that, but in real life, with real people. There are theories, of course: poisonous gas, carbon monoxide, even aliens, but no one truly knows. The ship itself later caught fire and sank before a full investigation could happen, taking its secrets to the ocean floor. Sometimes, the most profound mysteries are the ones that leave us with nothing to grab onto, no answer to hold. They just exist, quiet and cold, showing us that the world still holds unknowns far beyond our understanding. The story of the Orang Medan reminds us how fragile life can be, and how some questions might never find their peace. Brian Schaefer vanished from a busy nightclub. Have you ever been in a really crowded place, like a concert, and for just a second you couldn't find your friend? You panic, then you spot them. But what if you never spotted them again? What if they simply vanished? That's the chilling story of Brian Schaefer. In 2006, Brian was a medical student out with friends in Columbus, Ohio. He went into a busy nightclub, the ugly tuna saloon. He walked in, but he was never seen walking out. Not by his friends, by witnesses, or by any security cameras. It's like he just stepped into thin air. People have always disappeared. Long ago, without phones or cameras, it was easier to get lost. But now, with technology everywhere, we expect answers. So here's the thing. How can a young man in a packed building just disappear without a trace? This isn't an old mystery. This is modern BAFFLEMENT. Think about a magic trick. A magician makes someone disappear, but you know there's a hidden secret. You know they're still there. But Brian's disappearance wasn't a trick. It was real. It makes you wonder how, even in plain sight, someone can simply become invisible. His father searched tirelessly for years, passing away without ever knowing what happened. That pain, that endless question mark, is a heavy burden. It leaves us with a hollow feeling. These stories remind us how fragile our presence can be, and how some mysteries might forever stay locked away. They make us wonder about the space between what we know and what we can never truly understand. Paula Jean Weldon, lost on a quiet hike. Have you ever thought how quickly a perfectly normal day can change everything? One moment, fine. The next, a shadow falls, and things are never the same. This is the haunting question surrounding Paula Jean Weldon. In December 1946, Paula was a college student. On a bright, chilly afternoon in Vermont, she decided to go for a hike. She left her dorm, waved goodbye to a friend, and walked onto a familiar trail. She was just going for a walk, alone, on a well-used path. But Paula Jean Weldon never came back. It wasn't a sudden, dramatic event with witnesses. No one heard a cry for help. She simply vanished. The search was massive. Hundreds of people combed the snowy woods. Dogs sniffed every scent. Even rewards were offered. Still, no trace. No dropped glove. No footprints. Nothing. It was as if the earth had opened up and swallowed her whole, then sealed itself shut again. For generations, people have felt a deep unease about disappearances like Paula's. Long ago, if someone went missing, people might have imagined spirits. Today, we have science, but some mysteries still laugh at our efforts to understand. It's like when you lose your keys in your own house. You know they must be somewhere, but no matter how hard you look, they're just gone. Now imagine that feeling, but for a person, someone loved, gone forever. Paula Jean Weldon's story reminds us how fragile our safety can be. It shows that even on a quiet hike, the unknown can reach out. It leaves a deep ache, not just for Paula and her family, but for everyone who hears her tale. It makes us wonder about the silent places and what secrets they hold. And it teaches that sometimes the hardest truth is no answer at all. Ray Gricker, A Judge's Final Drive. Have you ever lost something important, like a favorite book or your backpack, and it just seemed to vanish without a trace? You search everywhere, but it's just gone. Now, imagine if that something was a person. Not just anyone, but someone who held a big, important job. That's what happened with Ray. He was a respected judge in Pennsylvania, a man with a steady life. He had responsibilities, a predictable routine, a clear place in the world. But one morning in April 2005, he disappeared. His red Mini Cooper was found parked at a hiking trail. His wallet, keys, and even a cooler were inside. But Ray Gricker was not. He was just gone, leaving no note, no sign. Just empty space. Here's the thing about people with established lives. We expect them to be anchored, right? It's like a massive, old oak tree in your schoolyard. You see it every day, sturdy and strong. You expect it to always be there. So, when a person like a judge, someone who represents order and stability, simply vanishes, it's deeply unsettling. It's like that strong oak tree suddenly not being there one morning. You would ask, but how? Where did it go? His disappearance makes us think about how fragile our sense of certainty can be. We build our lives on routines and expectations, believing things will generally stay the same, that people will be where they belong. But sometimes, life reminds us of its unpredictable nature. It shows us that even the most solid-seeming lives can suddenly slip into the unknown, leaving behind only questions and a quiet, persistent wonder about what truly happened. It reminds us that some mysteries simply remain, lingering like an unanswered echo in our world. The St. Augustine Trio, 3 friends, gone from Florida. Have you ever looked forward to a night out with your friends, full of plans and excitement? Imagine that feeling, that simple expectation of fun. But then, Picture what it would be like if those friends simply vanished into thin air. That's what happened in St. Augustine, Florida, to 3 young people, Ivy, Tiffany, and Mark. It was January 2005. They were just like you, going about their lives, making plans. They left for a party, excited to hang out, to laugh, to just be teenagers, but they never arrived. Their car was found later, empty, with no sign of a struggle, just gone. One moment, they were there, part of the world, full of dreams. The next, they were nowhere. The idea of someone disappearing without a trace, leaving no clues, no farewell, is deeply unsettling. It's like reading a gripping story, but the last few pages are torn out. You know the characters, you understand their world, but the ending, the most important part, is just missing. And because it's missing, you can never truly understand what happened or find peace. Here's the thing about our minds. We are built to solve puzzles. When something doesn't make sense, we try to fit the pieces together. It's why we look for patterns in the stars, or try to understand why we feel certain ways. But when a mystery like the St. Augustine trio comes along, there are no pieces to fit. There's only a gaping hole. It's like your favorite song just stops in the middle, never playing its final notes. That empty space, that unfinished melody, is what their families and friends have lived with for years. These moments in history, when people simply disappear, they remind us how fragile life can be. They show us that even in our modern world, with all its technology and knowledge, there are still unknowns. Sometimes, the hardest truth is that there might be no answer, no neat ending, and that's why these stories linger, a quiet whisper in the wind, telling us to cherish every moment, because you never know what tomorrow might bring, or might not bring. The USS Scorpion, a submarine's silent end. Have you ever wondered what it's like for something huge, something full of life, to just disappear? One moment it's there, strong and purposeful, and the next, it's gone, leaving only questions. That's what happened with the USS Scorpion. In May of 1968, this mighty submarine, carrying nearly 100 men, was making its way home across the Atlantic Ocean. It was a time called the Cold War, a tense period when big countries watched each other carefully. Submarines like the Scorpion were secret, powerful, moving silently deep underwater. They were designed to be hidden, but on this journey, the Scorpion became too hidden. The submarine sent a routine message, and then silence, just quiet, no distress signal, no emergency call, nothing. Imagine your phone suddenly losing all signal, not just for a moment, but forever, and you knew your whole family was inside that phone, just ... vanished. That's a bit like the feeling. People waited, they hoped, but the Scorpion never arrived. Months later, wreckage was found thousands of feet below the surface. The pieces told a story of a sudden, powerful event, but exactly what happened, no one truly knows. Was it a problem with its own weapons, a mechanical failure, or something else entirely? The ocean holds its secrets close. It swallowed the Scorpion whole, and with it, the answers. And so, this great vessel and its crew became a permanent mystery. It reminds us how vast and powerful the ocean is, how it can take back what we send into its depths. Their silent end tells a story not just of a vanished ship, but of the families left behind, forever wondering. It's a quiet sadness, a reminder of the unknowns that still exist in our world, even in our modern age. Sometimes, the sea just keeps its mysteries, leaving us with only memory and the quiet question of what truly happened. Josh and Susan Powell, a family's dark secret. Have you ever thought about how some of the most chilling mysteries happen not far away, but right within a family home? It's a strange idea, that the people we should trust the most can sometimes be part of the darkest secrets. This is where the story of Josh and Susan Powell takes us, into a place of deep sadness and unanswered questions. Susan Powell disappeared from her Utah home in December 2009. Her husband, Josh, claimed he took their 2 young sons, Charlie and Braden, camping in a blizzard that night, leaving Susan alone. But the police didn't believe his story. Right away, a shadow of suspicion fell over him. It wasn't the kind of mystery where someone vanishes into thin air without a trace, like a ship lost at sea. Instead, it felt like something had been hidden, deliberately, by someone close. Sometimes, we imagine dangers as being outside, in dark alleys or far-off places. But history, and even our own daily lives, teach us a hard truth. Betrayals can happen anywhere, even in the safest spaces. Think about how a friend might tell you a secret, and you trust them. only to find out they told someone else. That feeling of trust breaking apart, it's a tiny echo of what happens when a family member becomes a suspect. It twists what we think we know about safety and love. It makes us wonder how well we truly know anyone. The real tragedy for many was not just Susan's disappearance, but what happened to Charlie and Braden. Those two innocent boys were caught in the middle. Years later, in a heartbreaking twist, Josh Powell took his own life and the lives of his sons. He exploded his home with them inside, rather than lose custody. Susan's body has never been found, and the full truth of what happened to her likely died with Josh. This case leaves a heavy, silent ache. It's a powerful reminder that some stories end without all the pieces fitting together, and sometimes the hardest mysteries are the ones where the darkness was always close by, hidden in plain sight, leaving behind a ripple of profound sorrow that never truly fades. Richie Edwards, a rock star's mysterious goodbye. Imagine someone you admire, a voice you love, suddenly just ... stops. No trace, just silence. This is the haunting story of Richie Edwards. He was a guitarist and songwriter for a band called the Manic Street Preachers. He was known for his thoughtful lyrics and unique style, and fans connected with his honesty. Then, one day in February 1995, he vanished. Richie checked out of a hotel in London and was never seen again. His car was found near a bridge known for people ending their lives, but Richie himself was never found. No body, no note, just questions. For years, people hoped he would reappear. His family even left a bank account open for him, just in case he ever needed it. But here's the thing. He just disappeared. It's like when you're watching a movie, and a main character just walks off screen and never comes back, but the movie keeps going. You keep waiting for them, but they just aren't there. That feeling of unfinished business, of a story paused forever, is what Richie's disappearance left behind for so many people. We, as humans, really want to understand things. We want a beginning, a middle, and an end. When that ending is missing, it feels like a piece of our own understanding is also gone. And that's why this story touches us deeply. It reminds us that sometimes life doesn't give us all the answers. Sometimes the most profound goodbyes are the ones never actually said. It makes us think about how precious every moment with someone is, and how deeply a person can be missed, even when their fate remains a lasting mystery. The ghost blimp L8, an airship found empty. What if something huge, meant to hold people safely, just appeared, empty? Imagine a giant airship, floating alone, but everyone who was supposed to be inside is simply gone. This happened. A real story that still makes us wonder about strange disappearances. It was 1942. During World War II, the U.S. Navy blimp L8 flew a routine patrol over the Pacific Ocean near San Francisco. Two experienced pilots, Lieutenant Ernest Cody and Ensign Charles Adams, were inside. They were looking for enemy submarines, a serious job. Everything seemed normal, but then radio contact stopped. People on the ground got worried. Later, the blimp was spotted again, drifting aimlessly. It bumped the ground near a golf course, floated out to sea, then finally landed. The blimp itself was mostly fine. The engines still worked. The radios were on. Even the parachutes were folded. But here's the thing. Both pilots had vanished. They were just gone. It's like finding a bike you left outside your house, exactly where you parked it, helmet hanging on the handlebars. But the friend you lent it to is nowhere around. The bike is there, but the rider isn't. You'd feel a strange chill, right? The bike shows no sign of a struggle, no accident. It's just abandoned, and the person just disappeared. This blimp, the L8, became known as the ghost blimp. It challenges what we think we know about how things make sense. How do two people vanish from a small, contained space high above the ocean, leaving no clue, no distress call, no sign of a struggle? Their absence leaves a cold, empty feeling, like a page ripped from a book, leaving the story unfinished. It reminds us that sometimes the world holds mysteries that simply refuse to be solved, leaving behind only questions and the quiet ache of the unknown. Jim Sullivan, A Singer's Car. Then silence. Have you ever stopped to think about what it feels like when someone just disappears? Not moving away, not even passing on, but truly, completely gone, like a whisper swallowed by the wind. Imagine Jim Sullivan. He was a folk rock singer in the early 1970s, making music, chasing dreams in Los Angeles. He had a family, a life, and the hope of something more. But then, on a road trip from California to Nashville, everything changed. One day, his car was found, abandoned on a remote desert road in New Mexico. His guitar, wallet, and some clothes were still inside. His beloved dog was there too, waiting, but Jim, he was nowhere. No note, no struggle, just a car, a dog, and a vast, empty landscape. He was just ... gone. The silence that followed his vanishing act has lasted for decades. It's a silence that speaks volumes about the mysteries our world holds. It's like when you're putting together a puzzle, and you get to the very last piece, but it's just not there. You can see the whole picture, almost, but that one missing spot leaves you forever wondering what was supposed to fit. We, as humans, really need to know the end of a story. We search for explanations, for reasons, because it helps us make sense of things. When there's no ending, no answer, it leaves a hollow space, a constant echo in our minds. Jim Sullivan's story isn't just about a missing person. It's about the haunting question mark left behind. It's about the way a life can simply cease to be understood, leaving those who cared for him, and even strangers like us, to grapple with the unknown. Sometimes, the most powerful stories aren't the ones with grand finales, but the ones that just stop reminding us of how fragile and mysterious life can truly be. Brandon Swanson. A strange call, then gone. Have you ever had a simple plan just vanish, not changed, but gone, leaving only silence and deep wonder? That's the story of Brandon Swanson. In May 2008, Brandon, 19, was driving home in Minnesota when his car slid into a ditch. He was fine, so he called his parents for help. His dad, Brian, was on the phone, ready to pick him up. Brandon thought he was near Lind or Marshall. Brian drove to those spots, but found no sign of his son or the car. They kept talking. Brandon said he was walking through tall grass, heading towards some distant lights. Then, the call changed. His calm voice faded. A sudden, sharp exclamation. Then the line went dead. Just like that, his parents searched all night. Police and hundreds of volunteers joined. Dogs, boats, planes. They searched for weeks, months, years. Brandon was simply gone. No trace of him, his clothes, or anything he carried was found. It's like a story that suddenly loses its last page, taking the ending with it. Think about losing something you just had, like your phone. It's nowhere. Now imagine that, but it's a person. How can someone be talking on the phone, seemingly near home, and then just disappear? It makes you wonder how fragile our presence in the world can be. This mystery isn't just about a lost young man. It's about a question that hangs. How can someone so real simply cease to exist? Sometimes, the hardest truth is that some puzzles have no answers, leaving us with only the quiet ache of not knowing. The Circleville letters, a town's scary mailbox. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, even when no one was there? Imagine that feeling, but multiplied by an entire town. This is what happened in Circleville, Ohio, a quiet place that suddenly found its mailbox filled with fear. It all started with letters, not just any letters, but anonymous notes that knew personal secrets. Secrets about people's lives, their relationships, things they thought no one else knew. Here's the thing. These weren't friendly letters. They accused people of things, threatened them, and spread rumors that tore at the fabric of the community. It was like a poisonous whisper, but written down and mailed directly to your home. People started looking at each other differently, wondering who among them was writing these messages. Trust began to crumble, making everyone feel isolated and vulnerable. It was a terrifying game of suspicion, where no one knew who the real enemy was. Think about how a small rumor can spread through a school. Maybe someone starts a whisper about a secret, and even if it's not true, it can hurt feelings and change how people see each other. The Circleville letters were like that, but much worse. They didn't just hurt feelings, they destroyed lives, even leading to a mysterious death and a puzzling disappearance. For years, the letters kept coming, even when someone was arrested. Supposedly the writer, the letters continued. It was as if the fear itself had learned to write, or maybe there was more than one sender. The mystery of who was behind it all, and why, has never truly been solved. It leaves us with a quiet shiver, wondering how much power words can hold, especially when they come from the shadows. And it reminds us how fragile our sense of safety can be when simple trust disappears. The San Luis Valley, weird stuff, and missing people. Imagine a place, tucked away in the mountains, where the air itself feels different. A place where stories aren't just stories, but sometimes they're all we have left of someone. This is the San Luis Valley in Colorado. It's breathtakingly beautiful, yes, but it also has a deep, unsettling reputation. For generations, people have talked about strange lights in the sky here, lights that dance and vanish, and there are stories of unusual animals, beasts, that don't fit any known description. But the hardest, most painful part, it's also a place where people disappear, not just a few, but enough to make you stop and truly wonder what's going on. Think about what it means to vanish. One moment someone is there, walking, talking, breathing, part of the world. The next, they're gone. No trace. This isn't just about getting lost on a hike. It's about a sudden, inexplicable emptiness that rips through families and communities. For centuries, humans have tried to map out every corner of our world. We want to know where everything is and why it's there. But some places, like this vast valley, resist that. They hold on to their secrets, no matter how hard we try to uncover them. It's kind of like when you're looking for something you just had in your hand, your phone, your keys, a favorite book. You check everywhere, retrace your steps, open every drawer, but it's just gone. That feeling of confusion, of knowing it was there just moments ago, but now it's not. Now imagine that same feeling, but it's a person, a mum, a brother, a friend, and they don't just misplace themselves. They completely disappear, like they stepped into another dimension, leaving only questions behind. The San Luis Valley reminds us that even in our modern world, with all our technology and maps, there are still corners where the unknown reigns. It makes you think about how fragile our presence here can be, how easily we might pass from one state of being to another, and how deeply we long for answers when someone we care about simply vanishes. It's a quiet ache, a question hanging in the cold mountain air, asking us to remember those who are no longer here, and to wonder about the silent forces that sometimes just take them away. Bobby Dunbar, found boy, but was it really him? Can you imagine the agonizing pain of losing someone you love, someone who just vanished, and then, years later, a boy is found, and hope floods back in? This is the heart-wrenching puzzle of Bobby Dunbar. In 1912, 4-year-old Bobby disappeared during a fishing trip in Louisiana. His parents, Percy and Leslie Dunbar, were shattered by his absence. The Dunbars, heartbroken, searched for months. Then, 8 months later, a boy was found far away in Mississippi, traveling with a man named William Walters. Percy and Leslie Dunbar rushed to identify him. They said, with overwhelming relief, "That's our Bobby." There were some small differences, a scar, a mole, but in their desperate hope, they were certain. They brought him home, and their small town celebrated. Their lost boy was finally back. But here's the thing that twists the heart. Almost immediately, another woman, Julia Anderson, stepped forward. She claimed the boy was her son, named Bruce, and that Walters was her brother. She said he'd just been visiting family. So, who was this child? Was he the lost Bobby Dunbar, returned from a terrifying absence? Or was he Bruce Anderson, swept up in another family's desperate longing and mistaken identity? It's like when you're looking for a specific drawing you made, and you find one that looks almost exactly like it. In your eagerness to find yours, you might believe it's the right one, even if small details are off. The longing can be so strong, it shapes what you see. Back then, before DNA tests, there were no clear ways to truly know. It was just human memory, human emotion, and human heartbreak. The truth of this boy's identity was lost for almost a century, until new evidence, through DNA, finally offered an answer. But even with that answer, the story leaves a quiet, lingering sadness. It makes you deeply consider what it means to truly know someone, to truly belong. It reminds us how powerful hope can be, but also how terribly fragile our certainty can be, especially when our hearts are broken and searching for a way home. The crew of the Andrea Gale, fishermen lost to the storm. Have you ever wondered what it's like to just disappear, to be there one moment and then gone the next, with no trace left behind? That's what happened to the crew of the Andrea Gale, a sword fishing boat that sailed out of Gloucester, Massachusetts. In 1991, they were fishermen, just doing their jobs, chasing the big catch far out in the Atlantic Ocean. But then, something truly terrible happened. A massive storm, later called the perfect storm, because so many weather systems came together, brewed in the ocean. This wasn't just a bad rainstorm. We're talking about waves taller than houses, and winds so strong they could tear anything apart. The crew of the Andrea Gale, 6 brave men, found themselves right in the middle of it. They sent out a final radio message, a quick, broken communication, and then, Silence. They were never seen again. Not the boat, not the men. The sea simply swallowed them whole. For centuries, people who work on the ocean have faced this ultimate challenge. The sea gives us so much, but it can also take everything without warning. It reminds us how powerful nature is, and how small we can feel against it. Even with all our technology and knowledge, think about building a really strong sandcastle at the beach. You make it perfect, ready for the tide. But then a truly enormous, unexpected wave crashes down, much bigger than you ever imagined. It wipes everything away, and you can't even find a single bucketful of sand from your castle. That's a bit like what happened to the Andrea Gale. But with lives instead of sand, the mystery of their disappearance stays with us. It's not just about a lost boat. It's about the lost fathers, sons, and friends. Their story makes us quietly think about the risks some people take to provide for their families and the deep, silent power of the natural world. And sometimes, the most profound answers are simply that we don't know, and maybe we're not meant to. Captain Briggs' family, a ship's empty cabins. Have you ever walked into a room, expecting someone, only to find it empty? That quiet feeling of what should be there, but isn't. This is like the chilling story of the Mary Celeste. In 1872, this ship was found drifting, perfectly fine, but with no one on board. Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, all gone. Just an empty ship, sailing on dot. Imagine their cabins. A child's small bed, maybe a doll, a half-eaten meal. It wasn't a sudden storm. Everything was in its place, but the people were gone. This isn't just a scary story. It's a deep mystery. For centuries, people have vanished without a trace. Sometimes it's a lone explorer, sometimes whole families. The silence they leave, that's the hardest part. Here's the thing. We humans need reasons. If your phone isn't on your desk, you instantly retrace your steps. You need to know where it went. That's how our brains work. But what if you searched everywhere, and it was just gone? No explanation. That's the emotional weight of a disappearance like the Briggs family's. Their absence wasn't just a lack of bodies, it was a lack of answers, a hole in what we expect from life. When we think about the empty cabins of the Mary Celeste, it's more than just a ghost ship. It's a quiet reminder that sometimes, life doesn't give us easy answers. Some mysteries remain, not to scare us, but to show us the vast unknown parts of our world. And in that unknown, there's a certain sadness, a quiet wonder, and a lasting echo of lives that simply vanished. Oscar Zeta Acosta, a lawyer lost in Mexico. Have you ever wondered what it feels like when someone important, someone loud and full of life, just disappears? Oscar Zeta Acosta was one of those people. He was a brave lawyer and a powerful writer, known for fighting hard for Mexican Americans' rights. He spoke up for people who felt invisible, people who truly needed a voice. He marched for justice, his words filled with passion. Here's the thing. Acosta was more than a lawyer. He was a symbol of strength and hope for many. He was also friends with a famous writer, Hunter S. Thompson, who even wrote about him. Their adventures were wild, but Acosta's serious work was always about fairness. He believed in standing up for what was right, no matter how tough it got. Then, in 1974, Acosta went to Mexico. He called his son .com, saying he was on a boat full of white sharks. After that call, he was never seen or heard from again. Just like that, a man who filled rooms with his presence, a champion for justice, simply vanished. Imagine you're on a group project, and the person with the biggest ideas just doesn't show up. The project can't really move forward without them. That's a bit like what happened. Acosta left behind a fight that still needed a leader, a story that lost its author mid-sentence. It makes you think, doesn't it? What happened to him? Was it a simple disappearance, or something more? His story reminds us that some mysteries aren't about strange lights, but about the profound emptiness left when a human voice, one that mattered so much, is suddenly silenced. It's a quiet ache, a question whispered through history, about the people we lose and the unfinished work they leave behind. The girl who left a note and never came back. Have you ever left a simple note? Maybe be back soon, or went to the store. Usually, we write those notes and, well, we come back. But what if someone left a note just like that, a casual message, expecting to return, and then never did? These stories are different. They're about people who truly meant to come back. Their notes were everyday things, a promise for later, a simple plan, but the writer vanished. The note stays behind, a silent witness to a future that never arrived. It's like a conversation suddenly stopped. People have left messages for ages. Ancient carvings were meant to last. A note on a counter isn't meant to be historical. It's personal. But when the person is gone, that simple paper becomes heavy, holding their last known plans. It feels like a whisper from the unknown. Here's the thing. Imagine building with blocks. You place one, expecting to add another. A note is like that last block. You intended to keep building, but then you just disappear. The note is the lonely block left behind, a sign of an abruptly ended plan. And these notes matter. They remind us how fragile plans can be. They make us wonder about the line between presence and absence. A note is an ordinary thing, but when its writer is gone, it becomes a heartbreaking question mark. It makes you think how precious every moment is, and how a simple message can hold so much weight when someone steps out of their own life story forever. The teenagers who camped, then disappeared. Have you ever looked at a quiet forest and felt a strange mix of peace and a tiny shiver? It's a place of beauty, but also full of secrets. Here's the thing. Sometimes, young people go into these wild places and just don't come back. It's like a piece of a story goes missing, leaving everyone to wonder what happened. Imagine a group of friends, maybe just a little older than you, heading out for a camping trip. They set up their tents, build a fire, share stories under a sky full of stars. They're laughing, making memories. Then, morning comes, but they are gone. No trace. Their tents might still be there, their backpacks too, but the people themselves have simply vanished into the wilderness. For a long time, humans have told stories about the wild, places where the known world ends and mystery begins. Ancient people might have felt the earth held secrets, that spirits could hide or take things away. This feeling that something precious can just disappear touches us deep down. It's a fear as old as time. Think about a puzzle you're putting together. Every piece has a place. If one piece is just gone, the whole picture feels incomplete, doesn't it? It leaves a hole. When teenagers disappear from a campsite, it's like that missing puzzle piece, but much more painful. Families and friends are left with an empty space, where laughter and life once were. This kind of mystery leaves us with quiet questions. It reminds us that even now, there are still unknowns, silent places where answers don't always appear. And sometimes, the hardest truth is simply not knowing. It leaves a lasting echo, a soft sadness, and a deep sense of wonder about the untamed corners of our world. The hikers who vanished on the mountain trail. Imagine planning a perfect day. You pack your bag, tie your boots, and head out to a beautiful mountain trail. The air is crisp. The path promises adventure. You feel safe. But what if that familiar path suddenly led to nowhere? What if, one moment, you were there, and the next, you were simply gone? This isn't a story from a scary movie. It's a real, baffling mystery that has happened to many people. Folks just like us, who loved the outdoors, set off on a journey and were never seen again. They didn't fall, didn't leave a note, didn't get caught in a storm that anyone noticed. They just ... vanished. For ages, humans have looked at vast wild places like mountains and felt two things: wonder and a touch of fear. We try to understand every inch of our world, but nature always holds surprises. Think about how a puzzle piece can go missing from a set you just opened. You know it was there, but now it's not. Or how you can search everywhere for your phone, only to realize it was in your hand. These disappearances are like that, but on a much bigger, more heartbreaking scale. The hardest part isn't just the missing person, it's the silent question mark left behind. Families wait, hoping for a sign. Search teams scour every rock and crevice, but often, nothing is found. It's like the mountain itself swallowed them whole, guarding its secrets fiercely. And here's the thing, sometimes, there just isn't an explanation. We want answers, we need closure, but the world doesn't always give it to us. These stories remind us how small we are against the ancient, wild beauty of the earth. They make us think about how precious life is, and how some mysteries are meant to remain untouched, whispered only by the wind through the pines. It's a quiet, humbling thought. The family vacation that ended in mystery. Have you ever thought about how quickly a perfect day can turn upside down? 1 minute, you're laughing, making memories. The next, everything changes. A piece of that picture is simply gone. This is the heavy truth behind some haunting disappearances. People vanishing during what should be the happiest times. A family vacation, meant for joy, becomes a landscape of unbearable questions. Imagine an adventure with loved ones, a hike, a beach swim, a drive through a park. For countless families, these ordinary, beautiful places become the last known spots for someone cherished. It's not about grand mysteries. It's the personal horror of a loved one stepping away for a moment and never returning. Laughter stops. The search begins. But there's no trace, no clue, just an empty space where someone used to be. Humans have always told stories about people disappearing. Old myths spoke of spirits taking someone, or travelers lost forever. These stories try to explain the unexplainable. But here's the thing. Modern disappearances aren't myths. They are real people, real families, left with a silence that screams. It's like when your phone is lost. You've checked everywhere, but it's just gone. That frantic searching, then the slow, sinking dread. Now imagine that, but for a person you love. And that's why it matters. A vacation should bring happy memories, but for these families, it holds the chilling echo of absence. It's the last time they saw a loved one. It shows us that even in familiar settings, life can shift fast. It leaves behind only the silent question, what happened next? This mystery isn't just a puzzle. It's a wound that never truly heals, a quiet sorrow asking us to remember those who simply vanished. The farmer who went out and didn't return. Have you ever thought about someone who just vanished? Not in a big, complicated story with clues, but just gone. One day they are there, living their life, and the next, they are simply not. No trace, no goodbye. It's a quiet kind of mystery, one that leaves a lasting ache. Imagine a farmer. Maybe he lived a long time ago, or maybe just last year. He wakes up early, like always. He puts on his worn boots, grabs his hat, and heads out to the fields. It's his routine, what he does every single day. The sun is coming up, the air is cool. He might be thinking about the weather or what needs fixing on the tractor. But then, he just doesn't come back. His family waits, they call his name. The sun sets, then rises again, and still, nothing. Just silence where his voice should be. For centuries, people have grappled with this sudden, deep unknown. Before big cities and instant news, if someone disappeared, it felt like the earth just swallowed them. It made people wonder about the edges of their world. Was it a wild animal, a forgotten path, or something far more mysterious? When we can't find a simple answer, our minds try to fill that empty space with so many unanswered questions. It's a bit like when you lose something important, like your favorite worn-out hoodie. You remember where you put it, or where you thought you did. You search everywhere. You turned your room upside down, but it's just gone. You know it was there. You can picture it, but it isn't anywhere. And that empty space, where the hoodie should be, stays empty. For a person, that space isn't just a physical spot. It's a hole in someone's heart, in their family's life, in the whole community's peace. So, when a farmer walks out into his familiar fields and never returns, it's not just a person who is lost. It's a sudden, silent tear in the fabric of what we understand about life. It makes us think deeply about how precious and delicate our presence here really is, and it reminds us that sometimes the biggest questions are the ones with no answers at all. Just a lingering, quiet sorrow that whispers through time. The tourist who stepped away in a crowd. Have you ever been in a really crowded place? Maybe a festival or a busy street market. You're walking along, surrounded by so many people, a sea of faces. And then, for a moment, you look away. When you look back, the person who was just beside you, a family member, a friend, they're gone. Just like that. That quick jolt of fear, that sudden empty space where someone used to be, it's a terrifying feeling, even when they quickly reappear. Now, imagine that feeling, but multiplied by 1,000, and the person never comes back. This is the heart-wrenching mystery of the tourist who simply steps away in a crowd and vanishes forever. One moment, they're part of the vibrant hum of life, their laughter mixing with thousands of others. The next, they've dissolved into thin air, leaving only a gaping hole in the world for those who knew them. Think about how we exist. We are seen, we are remembered, we leave marks. Even ancient thinkers wondered about our place in the vast, busy world. They knew that each person, however small, was a thread in the fabric of society. To simply disappear, without a trace, goes against everything we understand about human presence. It's like a single drop of water trying to find its way back out of a rushing river. But here's the thing. That single drop holds a whole life. That's similar to when you're trying to find a specific leaf in a huge pile of fallen leaves. You know it's there, but the sheer number of others makes it impossible to pick out. For these missing people, they don't just get lost. It's as if they became invisible. their personal story erased from the ongoing narrative, and that's why it matters so much. What happened in those few seconds they stepped away? Did they see something, follow something, or did something happen to them right there, in the open, yet unseen? The silence left by their absence isn't just quiet. It's heavy. It's a quiet question that echoes across continents, asking how someone could simply cease to be, surrounded by so much life. It reminds us how fragile our presence can be, and how quickly the known world can turn into an unanswerable mystery. The Arctic explorer's last footsteps. Have you ever imagined standing somewhere so vast, so incredibly empty, that your own voice feels swallowed by the silence? Think about the Arctic. It's a place of breathtaking beauty, but also of crushing ice, endless snow, and freezing winds. For centuries, brave explorers felt drawn to this frozen frontier. They wanted to discover what lay beyond the maps, to push human limits. They faced unimaginable dangers, driven by curiosity and a thirst for glory. But sometimes, these adventurers simply vanished. Their ships, their gear, even their final footsteps, all just gone. It's like the land itself decides to keep their secrets. One day, a team is there, full of hope, battling the elements. The next, there's nothing. No distress signals, no wreckage, just an echoing void where they once were. It's a chilling thought, to be erased by the sheer power of nature. Think about it this way. Imagine you drop a small, bright red glove in the middle of a huge, freshly snow-covered field during a blizzard. Even if you turn round right away, the wind and new snow could quickly cover it. The field is so big, and your glove is so tiny. Soon, it's just gone, absorbed by the white landscape. That's a bit like what happened to some Arctic explorers. The scale of the wilderness was so enormous, and the conditions so harsh, that any trace of them could be wiped away in an instant. These disappearances aren't just mysteries. They are quiet reminders. They show us how small we can be against the true might of our planet. They make us think about the courage it takes to face the unknown, and the humbling power of a world that doesn't always give up its stories. Their last footsteps might be gone, but their silent questions still drift on the Arctic winds, urging us to wonder. The deep-sea diver who never surfaced. What happens when someone goes into a place so vast, so silent, that they just vanish? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? We hear stories of people getting lost in big cities or thick forests, but imagine the deep ocean. A diver prepares carefully, puts on heavy gear, checks air tanks. They descend into a world of crushing darkness, far from the light and sound of the surface. They have a plan, a team waiting, but sometimes a person simply doesn't come back up. No distress call, no damaged equipment, just nothing. The ocean floor quietly keeps its secrets. For centuries, people have looked at the sea with both wonder and a deep, old fear. Long ago, sailors told tales of huge monsters and sudden disappearances in the misty waves. Here's the thing, the ocean still holds so many unknowns. It's like a massive, endless library of secrets, and we've only ever peeked at the first few pages. It shows us how small we really are compared to its huge power. Think about dropping a tiny, shiny bead into a giant swimming pool that's completely dark. It sinks, and you can't see it. It just becomes part of that huge, dark water, lost forever. That's a bit like what happens when a deep-sea diver disappears. One moment they are a tiny bubble of life, a brief light in the crushing dark. The next, they are simply gone. No clues are left behind, no goodbyes exchanged. The ocean doesn't explain itself. It just holds on to its mysteries. So, when we think about these lost divers, it's more than just a puzzle. It's a quiet reminder that some places on our planet are still wild and untamed. They hold deep secrets that might never be understood, giving us a quiet, respectful awe for the world's most mysterious corners. Sometimes, it's okay not to have all the answers. The unknown can also teach us wonder. The mystery of a missing wedding guest. Imagine a day filled with joy, music, and the soft murmur of happy voices. It's a wedding. Everyone important is gathered, dressed in their best, celebrating. But then, a strange quiet falls over a small group. Someone they love, who was just there, talking, laughing, is suddenly gone. They haven't left a note. No one saw them walk out. How does a person simply vanish from a crowded, joyful space where they are expected, leaving no trace behind? This isn't about someone getting lost. It's about being present one moment and absent the next, in plain sight. Here's the thing. Stories like this deeply challenge our idea of how the world works. For ages, Humans have been fascinated and terrified by people just disappearing. Ancient myths tell of heroes taken by unseen forces. Why? Our minds struggle when things don't have clear answers. We expect a story to have a beginning, middle, and end. But a missing guest from a wedding, that's a story with only a hollow beginning, leaving us to search for answers that don't come. Think about it this way. Imagine you're on a school field trip. Your friend is beside you. Then you turn, and when you look back, they're just not there. No one saw them leave. They don't answer their phone. It's that same sudden, chilling uncertainty. That feeling of where did they go? When there's no easy answer, it makes your stomach drop. And that's why these kinds of disappearances leave such a lasting mark on us. They feel wrong, almost like a glitch in the fabric of reality. A person shouldn't just cease to exist from a place of celebration. It creates a deep, aching void, not just where they were, but in our sense of safety and understanding. It reminds us that even in familiar settings, life can hold secrets too vast for us to grasp, leaving only quiet questions and a lingering sense of wonder and sadness. The students lost on a field trip. Have you ever worried, just for a moment, that someone you were with might simply vanish? It's a quiet, unsettling thought. But what if it wasn't just a thought? What if a whole group of students, out on a fun field trip, disappeared without a single trace? This is a special kind of mystery, one that truly tugs at your heart. It's not about one person getting lost. It's about many people, together, and then suddenly, they're just gone. Here's the thing. Since forever, people have felt a deep need to keep children safe. We build homes, create communities, and have rules to protect the young. So, when children, especially a whole class, vanish, it breaks something deep inside us. It goes against everything we believe about safety and care. It leaves a gaping hole, not just in a specific place, but in our understanding of the world. Imagine looking for something you absolutely cherish, maybe a special pet, or a favorite toy you put down somewhere. You search everywhere, under beds, in closets, behind furniture. You feel that rising panic when it's truly gone. Now, imagine that feeling, but it's for people, for children. The ground where they last stood feels empty, the air silent where laughter once echoed. There are no clues, no farewell notes, just the quiet, chilling absence. It's like a piece of the world, a group of bright, young lives, was simply erased. And that's why it matters so much. It reminds us how fragile life can be, how quickly things can change. It leaves us with a heavy question mark, a quiet sorrow, and a deep, wondering feeling about the unseen edges of our world. Some questions, sadly, might never find their answers. The train passenger who just stepped off. Have you ever wondered if someone could simply step out of their life, just like that, not running away or getting lost, but truly vanishing? Imagine a busy train station, people everywhere, saying goodbyes, hurrying. Then, a person, just another face. They step off the train, maybe adjust their coat, and then, they're gone, not just out of sight, but out of existence. No luggage, no note, no clear reason why. This isn't just a story. Here's the thing. History has these moments. Tales of people here 1 second, then simply weren't. For centuries, people have wondered about such disappearances. Did they find a secret path? Start a whole new life? Or is it something stranger? Something that hints at gaps in what we understand about the world? It makes you feel a tiny shiver, doesn't it? Like the world holds quiet, unknown places where anything is possible. Think about a time you had a really clear thought. You knew it perfectly. And then, suddenly, it was just gone. You can't remember it, no matter how hard you try. It feels like it evaporated. A person vanishing is a bit like that, but on a grander, more heartbreaking scale. Imagine that blank space, not just in your mind, but where a whole person used to be. The empty seat, the quiet room. It leaves behind a feeling, a deep, quiet ache for answers that never come. It makes us pause and wonder how delicate our presence here can be. It reminds us that even when everything seems solid, there are still mysteries hiding in plain sight, and that's why it matters. It's a quiet reminder of the huge, beautiful, sometimes scary unknown that surrounds our everyday lives. Life holds wonders and shadows we might never truly grasp. The prisoner who broke out and stayed, gone. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to just disappear? Not just run away for a bit, but to truly vanish, like a wisp of smoke caught in the wind. This isn't just about someone escaping a prison. Lots of people try that. Here's the thing. This is about prisoners who broke out and then stayed gone. They didn't just escape the walls, they escaped their entire lives. They shed their names, their pasts, their very identities, becoming ghosts in a world of people. It's an idea that has fascinated us for a long time. People have always dreamt of ultimate freedom, of being able to just walk away from everything. But in our modern world, with all its cameras, computers, and countless records, it feels almost impossible to truly disappear. Every single step we take, every purchase, every call, it all leaves a tiny digital footprint. It's like trying to perfectly erase a drawing with a pencil. No matter how hard you rub, there's often a faint smudge, a shadow of what was there. That's how it is with our lives. We leave traces everywhere. So, when someone manages to break free from a highly secure place, and then vanishes without a single verifiable trace for decades or forever, it stops us cold. How do you become so quiet, so unseen, in such a noisy world? Think about it like trying to completely hide a small, bright toy in a massive, empty room. You might cover it, but the room is still empty, and the space where it could be feels important. The mystery isn't just about how they did it, it's about the deep quiet they chose. Did they find peace in that total silence? Or did they just become a different kind of prisoner, trapped by their own perfect disappearance? It leaves us with a strange feeling, a mix of wonder and a little bit of sadness for the life they had to leave behind. The bank robber who got away. Clint, have you ever thought about someone just vanishing into thin air? Not like a magic trick, but truly, completely gone. It's strange to imagine, but sometimes, people manage to do exactly that, even after a huge event. Imagine a bank robber. They plan everything, take a big risk, get the money, but then, instead of getting caught, they just disappear. It's like they stepped off the world's edge. We expect answers. We want to know how stories end, but some don't. In old times, some blamed spirits. Now, we know more, but the pure mystery still grips us, like losing something important, a special book or unique stone. You search everywhere, but it's just not there. It's gone. You can't explain it. You learn to live with not knowing, but a small part of you always wonders. One famous case involved a man who hijacked an airplane, got a lot of money, then parachuted out on a dark, stormy night. Searches went on for years. Parts of the money were found later, worn by time. But the man, no trace, no body, no sign of what happened after he jumped into that wild night. And that's what stays with us. This person, after all that, just jumped away, never found. It leaves a quiet question. Sometimes, even when we try our hardest, some secrets remain hidden. Our world holds mysteries, and maybe that's part of the wonder. Accepting some questions might never be answered, and that's okay. The vanishing cabin crew. Where did they go? Have you ever imagined being on a big ship, far out at sea, or perhaps high up in an airplane, soaring through the clouds? You're surrounded by others, busy with their jobs. Now, picture this. One moment, the cabin crew is there, serving drinks, chatting, moving through the aisles. The next moment, they're just gone. Not one person, but an entire group, vanished without a trace, leaving behind their stations and a chilling silence. How could that happen? This thought wraps around your mind like a cold fog. We trust these spaces, like a ship or a plane, to be safe, in closed worlds. We expect people to be accounted for. So, when a whole crew disappears from such a place, it breaks all our rules about how the world works. For a long time, humans have tried to make sense of everything. We look for patterns, for reasons. When ancient sailors lost a ship at sea, they might blame angry gods or sea monsters. Today, we look for evidence, for logical steps. But here's the thing, sometimes there are no steps, no clues, just an empty space. Think about being in your classroom, all your classmates around you. The teacher steps out for a second. When they come back, suddenly, all the students in the front 2 rows are just not there. No open windows, no door left ajar, no sound of anyone leaving, just empty chairs and half-finished assignments. Your brain would scream, how, knowing someone was just there, and now they aren't, without any good reason, leaves a hollow feeling inside. It's like a puzzle is missing, but it's not just a piece, it's the whole picture. These vanishing crews remind us that even in our most controlled environments, mystery can still find a way in. It's a quiet whisper that sometimes life doesn't make sense, and that's a hard truth to accept. It shows us how fragile our sense of order really is, and how deeply we long for answers, especially when human lives are at stake. It makes us pause and wonder about the quiet vastness of the world, and all the things we still don't understand, waiting just beyond our sight. The lone prospector's empty camp. Have you ever walked into a room, expecting someone to be there, only to find it completely empty? It's a strange feeling, right? A little unsettling. Now, imagine that feeling, but stretched across a vast, lonely landscape, like the old American West. That's the core of what we're talking about with the lone prospector. These were people, often men, who went searching for gold or other treasures deep in the wilderness. They wanted to strike it rich, to find their fortune, but they went alone, sometimes for months, with only their tools, a small tent, and their biggest hopes. Don't think about a prospector's camp. There might be a worn-out pickaxe leaning against a rock, maybe a cooking pot still warm over a small, cold campfire, a half-eaten meal nearby. Perhaps a leather-bound diary lies open on a makeshift table, its pages showing half-finished thoughts about the day or the promise of gold. Everything is still there, just as it was. The tent stands firm, the supplies are untouched, but the person, the prospector themselves, they're gone, just vanished. No sign of a struggle, no tracks leading away, no clear reason at all. It's like a story that suddenly stops mid-sentence, forever unfinished. Back in those days, the world was huge and wild. News traveled slowly, if it traveled at all. People went missing often, sometimes due to accidents, sometimes to wild animals, or even other people. But the cases that baffle us are different. Here's the thing. These prospectors left everything behind. It's like if you leave your backpack and phone right on your bed, step out for just a moment, and when your family comes to check on you, your stuff is there, but you're not, and no one saw you leave. It's not just a disappearance. It's an erasure, a gap in the world where a person used to be. It leaves behind a quiet kind of pain, a deep sense of wonder, a question that echoes through the canyons and across dusty plains. How can someone simply disappear from their own life, leaving all the evidence of their existence untouched, yet be completely gone? It reminds us that even with all our searching, some parts of the world, and some human stories, remain vast, unknown, and quietly heartbreaking. The empty camp becomes a silent monument, not to a life lived, but to a question that will likely never be answered, a space where certainty used to be. The mountain climber who never made it home. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to stand on top of the world, to see endless peaks stretch out, touching the clouds? For many, climbing mountains is about challenge and beauty. But here's the thing, sometimes the mountain keeps its climbers. They go up, full of hope, and simply never come back down. No trace, no sign, just vanished. It's a strange thought, isn't it? One moment someone is there, a person with plans and dreams. The next, they are gone, swallowed by the vastness of the natural world. Humans have always been drawn to the wild, to places bigger than us. Ancient people looked at towering mountains and felt both awe and fear. They knew these places held immense power, a power that could inspire or destroy. This isn't just about getting lost. It's about an entire person, often skilled, disappearing as if they were never there. Think about dropping a single Lego brick in a huge, overgrown garden. You search, but the grass is too tall, the bushes too thick, the ground too uneven. It's just one tiny piece in a massive space. Now imagine that Lego brick is a human, and the garden is an entire mountain range, covered in snow, ice, and jagged rocks. Even with our technology, the mountain is so vast, so wild, a person can be lost forever, tucked in a hidden crevice or buried under a sudden avalanche. The quiet, lonely truth of these disappearances is heartbreaking. For the families left behind, there's no goodbye, no grave, just an empty space where their loved one used to be. This teaches us something deep about the world. Some mysteries stay mysteries. Nature, in all its beauty, also holds an ancient, silent power that can erase us. It's a reminder of how small we are, and how some places will always keep their secrets. The surfer who rode a wave, then vanished. Have you ever thought about how strange it is when a person just disappears? One moment, they're right there, part of our world. The next, it's like they were never even here. We're not talking about moving away or getting lost for a while. This is about being present, then truly, completely gone, without a trace. Imagine a warm, sunny day at the beach. A young surfer, full of life, paddles out. He catches a perfect wave, riding it with joy. His friends watch from the shore, cheering him on. The wave breaks, sending foam everywhere. When the water clears, the surfer is gone. His board floats nearby. Friends search, boats go out, but there's nothing, no sign, no explanation, just an empty space where a person used to be. This kind of vanishing feels like a tiny rip in our understanding of the world. For a long time, people have told stories of others who stepped into a forest and didn't come out. It makes us wonder, how can someone simply vanish from existence? It's a bit like when you're sure your phone was just on the table, but now it's totally gone. Only, this isn't a phone, it's a person. That missing presence leaves a strange, empty feeling. We expect people to stay, to come home. When someone vanishes like this, it leaves a silence that screams. It's a puzzle with no pieces, a question with no answer. It reminds us that life holds mysteries, refusing to be solved. Even ordinary moments can turn into the most baffling, heartbreaking questions. The emptiness left isn't just a space, it's a quiet ache for everyone who knew them, forever asking why. The circus performer's disappearing act. Have you ever watched a magician make someone vanish? One moment they're there, smiling, then poof, gone. You know it's a trick, right? Your brain understands a clever secret, a hidden door. But what if it wasn't a trick? What if someone just disappeared? Not an act, but for real. No trapdoor, no mirrors, just an empty space where a person used to be. Here's the thing. This is one of humanity's oldest, most chilling mysteries. People have vanished throughout history, leaving only questions. Think about it. A person has a life, friends, family, a routine. They walk down a street, or they're in their own home, and then they're simply not there anymore. No goodbye, no note, no trace, just gone. It's like a story that stops mid-sentence, the page left blank. Our minds try to make sense of everything. When your phone goes missing, you look everywhere. You expect to find it, but imagine searching absolutely everywhere, and it was just gone. Not lost, not stolen, but truly, inexplicably gone. That's the feeling of these deep mysteries. Our brains crave answers, logic. When there's none, it leaves a big, uncomfortable hole. It challenges what we think we know, that things don't just stop existing. This idea has always fascinated and terrified us. Old stories tell of heroes stepping out of existence. But for the families left behind, it's not a puzzle. It's a profound, aching silence. It's the constant wondering, the what if, the empty chair. These disappearances remind us that even in our orderly world, some things remain truly unknowable. The curtain falls. The performer never reappears. We are left with the echo of their presence and a baffling, empty stage. The mail carrier's last stop. Have you ever stopped to think about how some things just vanish? Not misplaced, like your homework or a favorite pen, but truly gone. Here's the thing. It's one thing to lose an object. It's another entirely when a person, someone with a clear routine, simply isn't there anymore. Imagine a mail carrier, walking their usual route, going house to house, delivering letters, a familiar sight, and then, suddenly, they are just gone. No trace, no struggle, just an empty space where a person used to be. The undelivered mail, the silent street. This isn't about some dramatic spy mission or a thrilling escape. It's about the quiet, unsettling break in the everyday. The world expects things to have reasons, to follow rules, but these kinds of disappearances, like a mail carrier's last stop, defy that. For centuries, people have tried to understand moments like these. Stories from ancient times talk about travelers who step into a mist and are never seen again, or people who walk out of their homes and simply cease to exist. It makes us wonder if the world is as solid as we think, if our place in it is truly secure. Think about playing a video game with a friend. You're both there, side by side, in the same virtual world. Then, without a sound or a glitch, your friend's character just vanishes from the screen. No exit message, no logout, just ... gone. That feeling of confusion, then a strange kind of emptiness, is a tiny glimpse of what these bigger mysteries feel like. It makes us feel a strange ache, a quiet wonder. These stories remind us how precious and fragile presence can be. They make us look at the world a little differently, a little more carefully, seeing the thin line between being here and being nowhere. And maybe they make us appreciate the simple fact of being present, right here, right now, just a little bit more. The family who moved and left no trace. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if someone just disappeared? Not just moved away, but truly vanished, like they were never there. Imagine a family living their daily lives, Then, one day, the house is empty. No forwarding address, no goodbyes, just gone. This isn't about running away or hiding. This is about a complete erasure. In our modern world, we leave digital trails everywhere. Our phones, social media, school records. It's hard to simply vanish. But what about long ago? Before fingerprints and databases, people could disappear with surprising ease. They packed up their wagon, said farewell or not, and set off for somewhere new, fading into the vastness of the world. Think about a drawing you made once, on a whiteboard, or with chalk on the sidewalk. You put effort into it. It was there, but then it was erased, or washed away by rain. No photograph, no lasting memory, except in your mind. It's like that, but with people. Their lives, their stories, simply gone. For centuries, this was a real possibility. Families seeking new lives, or escaping troubles, would simply pack up. The roads were long, communications slow, and records few. They might settle in a new town, start fresh, and their old lives would just cease to exist for those left behind. It's a heavy thought, isn't it? The idea that someone's entire existence could fade into silence, leaving only a faint whisper where their presence once stood. It makes you think about how fragile our mark on the world can be, and how much we rely on others remembering us to truly stay. The solo sailor lost at sea. Have you ever looked out at the ocean, stretching endless to the horizon, and truly wondered what it means to be alone out there? Imagine just one person, on one small boat, with nothing but water and sky in every direction. This is the world of the solo sailor, a brave soul choosing to face the vast, untamed sea by themselves. But sometimes, these incredible journeys end in a silence that echoes louder than any storm. A sailor sets out, full of hope, and then they just vanish. No distress call, no wreckage, just a sudden, absolute absence. Here's the thing, when someone disappears on land, there are often clues. But at sea, especially far from shore, the ocean is a giant canvas that quickly erases tracks. Waves can swallow a small boat, storms rage with unimaginable power, and currents carry away any trace. This mystery is as old as sailing itself. For thousands of years, people have ventured onto the water, and some have never returned. Ancient sailors told tales of sea monsters, trying to explain the unexplainable. Today, we know it's often nature's raw power, but the why and how still haunt us. Think about a single tiny grain of sand on a huge, miles-long beach. If that one grain simply vanished, how would you ever find it, or even know it was gone? That's kind of how a solo sailor can disappear on the ocean. The scale is immense, and the forces are so much bigger than any human. It reminds us of how fragile we are, even with our technology. So, when we hear of a solo sailor lost at sea, it's not just a puzzle. It's a profound moment that makes us feel the true immensity of the world, and our small place within it. It's a quiet reminder that some secrets belong to the deep, and that even the bravest hearts can be taken by the wild, silent unknown. It leaves us with awe, and a deep, quiet sadness for journeys left unfinished. The couple on a picnic, then gone. Have you ever pictured the perfect day out? Maybe a warm sun on your skin, the smell of fresh grass, and the quiet company of someone you love. You're sharing sandwiches, laughing, completely at peace. Now, imagine if, in that very moment, that feeling of safety snapped. What if, with no warning, no sound, no struggle, you and the person beside you simply weren't there anymore? Just the untouched picnic basket, a half-eaten apple, and the sudden, chilling silence where laughter used to be. This isn't just a scene from a horror movie. It's the heartbreaking reality of certain disappearances. We're talking about ordinary people, loving couple who set out for a simple, joyful day, only to vanish entirely. Their car is found, their belongings are still there, but they are gone. It's a mystery as old as stories themselves. Long ago, people might have imagined gods plucking mortals from the earth, or invisible spirits taking them to another realm. Today, we know better, but the feeling of utter bewilderment remains just as strong. How can two people, in plain sight, just cease to exist? It's a bit like trying to solve a puzzle, but a huge section of the pieces just isn't in the box. Not missing in a hidden corner, but truly gone. You look everywhere. You turn the box upside down, but the key parts are simply absent. For families left behind, it's a constant ache, a permanent question mark hanging over their lives. Every single day, they wonder what happened, where their loved ones went. There's no body to mourn, no grave to visit, just an endless void of uncertainty. This type of vanishing act reminds us how little we sometimes truly understand about the world around us. It makes us pause and think about how fragile our presence here on Earth can be, and how every shared moment holds a special kind of preciousness, because sometimes things simply fade away. The scientist's lab, left empty. Have you ever walked into a room and felt a strange quiet, like something important was just there, but now it's gone? Imagine that feeling, but in a place buzzing with discovery. A scientist's lab. Here, tools are neatly placed, experiments are midway, and complex formulas fill whiteboards. But the scientist, the brilliant mind who understood it all, isn't there. The chair is empty. The coffee mug is cold. It's not just a person missing. It's a world of thought, of potential breakthroughs, suddenly silent. For a long time, people have tried to explain things that just aren't there anymore. When a great thinker vanishes, it's like losing a whole library of knowledge, not just a single book. We don't just miss the person, we miss the answers they might have found. This kind of disappearance hits differently because it leaves behind questions about the unknown, about what secrets they were close to discovering. It makes us wonder if they stumbled upon something too big to understand, or if the very mysteries they chased somehow claimed them. Think about it this way. Imagine you're building an incredible, complicated model airplane. You've spent weeks on it, tiny pieces, intricate wiring. You step away for just a minute to grab a snack. When you come back, the model, all your tools, even the instructions, everything is completely gone from your desk. Not just moved, not hidden, but vanished without a trace. The feeling isn't just sadness, it's confusion, a deep sense of unreality. Your mind struggles to make sense of a space that should be full of your hard work, but is now just empty. So, when a scientist's lab is left this way, it's more than just a missing person story. It's a silence that speaks volumes. It's a question mark hanging over everything we thought we knew about the world, and about the limits of human understanding. It reminds us how fragile our grasp on knowledge can be, and how some mysteries might always remain just beyond our reach, leaving us only with empty spaces and quiet wonder. The writer who never finished their book. Have you ever thought about stories almost told, but never finished? It's a strange, sad thought, isn't it? Imagine a writer pouring their heart into a book. They create whole worlds and characters. Then, for reasons we may never know, they vanish. Not just the person, but their unique voice. They leave behind notes, half-written chapters, a beginning without an end. The story simply stops. This isn't just about people disappearing. Sometimes, great thinkers or artists vanish, or their work gets lost. Think of ancient libraries, like Alexandria's. Countless scrolls, full of human ideas, were lost to fire or time. It's like parts of our shared history just disappeared. We can only guess what amazing tales went missing. It leaves a quiet sense of loss. It's like building a cool Lego castle. You have big plans for its towers. You're halfway done. Then, all the remaining Lego bricks disappear. You can see the castle, know what it could have been, but you can never finish it. The picture on the box shows a masterpiece, yet your table holds only a promise, a fragment. That half-built castle sits there, a silent question. So, what happens to these incomplete stories? Do they just fade, like whispers, or do they linger, a ghost in the pages, waiting for someone to imagine their ending? They remind us how delicate our creations are, and how special every finished tale becomes. They make us think about imagination's quiet power, even when left unfinished, hinting at wonders we can only dream of. It's a mystery of what vanished with them, the end of their story, the heart of their world. The old man from the nursing home, simply gone. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if someone you saw every day, someone you knew was there, just wasn't, not moved away or on a trip, but truly vanished? It's a question that brings a shiver, especially when it happens to someone who shouldn't be able to disappear. Imagine an older gentleman named Arthur. He lived in a nursing home, a place built for safety and care. Doors were locked, staff checked residents regularly. Arthur had his routine, breakfast at 7, an afternoon nap, old movies. But one morning, his bed was empty. His slippers were beside it, his glasses on the nightstand. Arthur himself was simply gone. No broken windows, no struggle, no open doors outside. Just an empty space where a person used to be. For centuries, people have told stories about individuals who walk away and are never seen again. Sometimes, it was a sailor lost at sea, or a traveler swallowed by a vast forest. but in a modern building, with security cameras and staff. How does someone like Arthur just disappear? It makes you feel a knot in your stomach. It reminds us that even in our most controlled places, the world sometimes throws us a mystery that refuses to be solved. Think about it like this. You put your phone down on your desk, right where you always do. You turn away for a second, and when you look back, it's not there. Not under a book, not in your bag, just gone. It's confusing, right? You search everywhere. Now imagine that feeling, but it's a person. This kind of vanishing leaves a quiet ache. It's not just the person who is gone, it's the peace of mind. It's the unsettling thought that some things, even when we try our hardest to understand them, simply remain hidden. And sometimes, the most profound questions echo in the silence, after someone has simply ceased to be there. The gardener who vanished from his garden. Imagine you're walking through your own backyard. You know every bush, every stone, every path. You feel safe there, right? It's your space. But what if, in that very familiar place, someone simply vanished? That's what happened in the story of the gardener who disappeared from his own garden. It makes you wonder, can a person just cease to be, right where they belong? Here's the thing. Most of the time when someone goes missing, we look for clues. We follow tracks, ask questions, try to piece together what happened. There's usually a reason, but some vanishings are different. They leave no trace, no struggle, just an empty space. Where a person once stood, it's like a whisper that stops mid-sentence, leaving silence. Think about a time you lost something important, like your favorite hoodie. You searched everywhere. You knew it was somewhere in your house. Even if you couldn't find it, you believed it still existed. But with these mysterious disappearances, it's as if the world itself forgot they were there. People have wrestled with this absence for ages. They wonder what it means for someone to just not be when they clearly were. It shakes our grasp of reality. Here's an analogy. Imagine watching a movie on your phone. Suddenly, the screen goes black. The app just closes. No error, no loading. It just disappears. The movie didn't finish. The sound didn't fade. It just stopped existing. That sudden blankness, that's a bit like the feeling these disappearances leave behind. It makes you question what you thought you knew. So, when we think of the gardener, tending to his plants one moment, then gone the next, we're left with a quiet, unsettling question. It's not just about a missing person. It's about the very fabric of certainty. It reminds us that sometimes the answers we seek aren't hidden, but simply not there. And that silence, the echo of what was, can be the most profound mystery of all. The midnight walker who never returned. Have you ever thought about someone who just walked out their front door and never came back? Not kidnapped, not running away on purpose, but simply vanished into the night, or even the daytime. It's a quiet, chilling kind of mystery. One moment, they're part of our world, maybe going for a stroll, enjoying the cool air, and the next, they're gone. The path they took becomes a question mark. This isn't just a modern story. For thousands of years, people have disappeared. Think about ancient explorers. Sometimes, an entire group would just vanish while charting new maps, leaving only whispers in the wind. Or imagine a person from a small village long ago, leaving to gather wood in the forest and just ... never returning. No struggle, no message, just an empty space where they once were. It makes us feel how small we are, how much of the world remains unknown, even in places we think we know well. It's a bit like when you're building a big, complicated Lego set. You follow the instructions, piece by piece, and the whole thing is taking shape. Then, suddenly, one crucial piece is just missing from the box. Not fallen on the floor, not put in the wrong place. It's simply not there. The whole structure feels incomplete, a permanent gap in the design. You can't finish it, and you can't understand why that one piece is gone. That's how it feels when a person vanishes. They were a vital part of the world's picture, and now there's just an empty space. This kind of disappearance leaves a deep echo. It reminds us how much we rely on the everyday rhythm of life, on people being where they're supposed to be. It shows us that sometimes, even when we search with all our might, some questions just don't have answers. It teaches us a quiet respect for the unknown and the delicate thread that connects each of us to the world around us. And it makes us feel a little sad for the stories that are left unfinished. The vanishing of the school bus driver. Have you ever thought about someone you see every day, like your school bus driver? Then imagine them just gone. One morning, they're there, smiling, saying good morning. The next, their seat is empty. No note, no explanation, just an absence where a familiar face used to be. It's a quiet kind of shock, isn't it? This is about moments when someone simply disappears, leaving nothing but questions and a deep, unsettling void. Here's the thing. Humans have always tried to make sense of everything. We draw maps, we study stars, we learn how the world works. But then, there are these stories. Moments where a person just vanishes. No trace, no clue. It's like a puzzle piece that wasn't just lost. It was never even made. Long ago, people might have thought gods took them, or spirits carried them away. Today, we still feel that same chill, that deep confusion when logic fails us. Imagine playing hide and seek. Someone hides so well, they're never found again. Not even a whisper of where they went. It's like that, but in real life. Or think about a cloud on a sunny day. It's there, full and bright. Then the wind blows, and it just fades away, becoming nothing. But a person isn't a cloud. A person has a life, a routine, connections. So, when they vanish, it challenges everything we think we know. And that's why it matters. A disappearance isn't only about the person who left. It's about the echo they leave behind, the empty chair, the silent street, the unasked questions hanging in the air. It's a feeling that stays with you, a quiet reminder that some mysteries might never be solved. Sometimes, maybe that's okay. Maybe the real lesson is about the wonder and the humility of facing something we simply can't understand. The child who wandered off, never found. Have you ever worried about losing something really important, like a favorite photo or a special toy? What if that something was a person, a small child, who simply walked away one afternoon and was never seen again? This isn't a story about someone running away on purpose. This is about a true mystery, a little one, innocent and curious, who just vanishes. It's a fear as old as humans themselves. For thousands of years, in every culture, parents have watched their children play, knowing how quickly a moment of distraction can turn into a lifetime of searching. Imagine a family in a village long ago. A child wanders into the nearby forest, drawn by a butterfly. The forest is vast, full of shadows. Sometimes, despite everyone looking, that child never comes back. The wild simply took them, leaving only questions. Here's the thing about our world. It's huge, and sometimes, even the smallest spaces can hide big secrets. Think about dropping a tiny earring in a room full of furniture. You might search for hours, but sometimes, it's just gone, tucked away. Now imagine that earring is a small child, in a vast forest, a sprawling city, or even a quiet neighborhood. One moment, they're there, and the next, they're not. They vanish not into thin air, but into the overwhelming complexity of their surroundings. It leaves a raw, aching silence for those left behind. No answers, no goodbye, just an empty space. It teaches us something profound about how delicate life is, and how some puzzles might never be solved. It's a heavy thought, but it reminds us to cherish every moment, because sometimes, even the simplest journey can lead to the deepest, most unexplained silence. The treasure hunter's empty map. Have you ever tried to find something really important? Something you desperately wanted to get back, but you had absolutely no idea where to start looking? Imagine a treasure hunter. They live for the thrill of the chase, poring over old, crinkled maps, following faint clues. They always believe there's a path, a winding trail that will lead them to what they seek. But what if the map they finally found, the one that promised answers, was completely blank? Just a piece of aged paper, showing nothing. No X marks the spot, no winding rivers, no hidden caves, nothing. That's the chilling, bewildering feeling when someone disappears without a single trace. For centuries, humans have always sought to understand. We draw maps of the stars, charts of the oceans, blueprints of how things work. It's how we make sense of our world. We believe there's an answer for everything, a reason, a logical step-by-step path. But some disappearances are like that blank map. There are no footprints, no dropped items, no witnesses, just ... gone. It feels wrong to our brains, like a story with the last page ripped out. We want to fill that emptiness with something, anything. Think about your favorite song. You know every word, every note. If someone suddenly stopped the music halfway through, and the rest of the song just vanished, how would that feel? You'd be left hanging, needing to hear how it ends. Or maybe it's like you're playing a video game. You've beaten all the bosses, but the next level just isn't there. No matter how many doors you open, you can't find a way forward. This is what an empty map means for the families and friends left behind. They are stuck, endlessly searching for a path that simply doesn't appear. This kind of disappearance, the one with no clues, doesn't just create a mystery. It creates a space of deep, quiet bewilderment. It makes us face the idea that sometimes the world doesn't offer explanations. Sometimes the path we expect to find simply isn't there. And maybe, in those moments, all we can do is hold on to the quiet hope that even an empty map holds a story waiting for someone, someday, to draw it in. The photographer's last picture, then gone. Have you ever looked at an old photo, maybe a picture of your family or a moment from a trip, and wondered about the exact second it was taken? We see the faces, the places, the exact instant, frozen forever. But what if the person holding that camera, the one who pressed the button, simply disappeared right after? That's the chilling, almost unbelievable idea behind some of the deepest mysteries we'll explore. Imagine someone fully present, capturing a scene, and then, in the blink of an eye, they are gone. All that remains is their final artwork, a last view of the world through their eyes, a silent witness to their vanishing. Humans have always wanted to capture time. From ancient cave paintings to today's selfies, we try to hold on to moments, to remember. But picture this: a photograph is taken, perfectly clear, showing a beautiful sunset or a bustling street, and then the person who made that image is just not there anymore. It's like when you're drawing a picture, you lift your pencil for a second, and when you look back down, your hand is gone. But the half-finished drawing is still on the paper. That last image isn't just a picture. It's a profound mystery, a question mark hanging right in front of us. It speaks of a life interrupted, a story without an ending. This kind of disappearance makes us feel a strange mix of wonder and sorrow. It shows us how fragile being here can be. One moment, you're part of everything, observing, creating. The next, you're an unsolved riddle. The photograph itself becomes a quiet kind of ghost, a memory of someone who existed, who saw this exact view, felt the wind, aimed the lens, and knew this moment. And then, without a single clue, they stepped out of their own story, leaving only this final, silent picture. It's a powerful, quiet kind of sadness, seeing what they saw, knowing they were there, and knowing they never returned. It reminds us that every moment we capture, every memory we make, is a precious record of our being in this world. The musician who missed their own concert. Have you ever had a moment you just couldn't miss, like a big test, or your team's championship game? What if someone was supposed to be there, right on stage, for the biggest night of their life, and then, they simply weren't? This isn't just about being late. This is about vanishing completely, leaving an empty space where a person, full of life and talent, should have been. Think of a musician, instruments tuned, lights ready, the crowd buzzing with excitement. The band is ready to play their hearts out, and then, the curtain rises to silence. The star performer is gone. It leaves such a heavy feeling, doesn't it? Not just confusion, but a kind of sadness for what was lost, for the music never played, for the promise unfulfilled. The people waiting, the friends on stage, they all feel that sudden, chilling emptiness. Throughout history, people have always been fascinated by these sudden exits. Ancient myths often tell of gods or heroes who just walked away, or were called to another realm, never to return. It's a way our minds try to make sense of something that has no logical explanation. The void left, when a life simply stops being present. Imagine planning a group project with friends. Everyone has their part. You're counting on one person, their ideas, their effort. But on the day it's due, they're just, not there. No message, no reason. It's not just about the grade. It's about the feeling of being let down, and the big question mark that hangs in the air. Where did they go? What? You can't finish the project the same way, and a part of the story is forever missing. These disappearances remind us how fragile our presence here can be. They whisper about the limits of what we can understand, and how much we rely on the predictable rhythm of life. When someone vanishes without a trace, it's like a song that ends mid-note, leaving a lingering echo in the quiet. It forces us to pause, to feel the weight of absence, and to wonder about the silent stories that sometimes unfold just beyond our sight. And sometimes, those stories are never fully told. The actor who didn't show up for their scene. Have you ever felt that strange quiet when someone important is just missing? Like a favorite character in a story, someone you expect to see, but they simply aren't there for their big scene. It's not just a skipped line, It's an empty space, a silence where their voice should be. This feeling, this unsettling absence, is at the heart of many of the world's greatest mysteries. Think about it. Our minds crave completeness. We expect patterns, causes, and effects. When a person, an object, or even an entire group of people vanishes without a trace, it leaves a gaping hole in our understanding. It's like a play where the lead actor disappears moments before the curtain rises. The script is there, the stage is set, the audience waits, but the crucial piece is gone, and no one knows why. Humans have wrestled with this idea for ages. From ancient myths about gods who suddenly left the earth to old legends of ships sailing into an unknown void, we've always tried to make sense of what isn't there. It's a challenge to our basic belief that everything has an explanation, a reason. We build our world with facts, with presence. But what happens when that presence simply melts away? Here's the thing. Imagine you're building a Lego castle. You have all the instructions, all the pieces laid out. You're almost done, but one specific, important brick, maybe the cornerstone of a tower, is just gone. Not lost under the couch, not misplaced, but truly, inexplicably, missing from the box. You look everywhere. You retrace your steps. But that brick, meant to hold a crucial part of your castle together, has vanished. The castle is forever incomplete, and you're left with a question mark hanging over its very foundation. These disappearances, like that missing Lego piece, force us to confront the limits of what we know. They leave us with a hollow ache, a lingering why, that echoes through time. It's a reminder that sometimes, even in a world we think we understand, there are moments when the story breaks, and a character we expected to see never steps into the light. And in that empty space, a profound mystery truly begins, reshaping everything we thought we knew. The pilot who flew into the clouds and was lost. Have you ever looked up at the sky, really high up, and just wondered, what if someone went up there, above the clouds, and never came back down? Imagine a pilot, their plane soaring, a small dot against the vast blue. Everything is normal. Then, they fly into a thick, swirling cloud bank, like a soft, white wall. And that's it. Silence. No radio call, no emergency signal, no sign of the plane, no wreckage anywhere. It's like the sky itself just opened up and swallowed them whole, leaving only an empty space where a person, a life, used to be. Here's the thing about disappearing like that. It leaves a deep, aching hole, not just in the sky, but in the hearts of everyone who knew them. For centuries, humans have tried to map everything, to understand every corner of our world. We build amazing machines like airplanes to conquer distance. But then, these machines take people into places so vast, so empty, like the open ocean or the endless sky, that searching becomes almost impossible. It's like dropping a single, tiny key into the deepest part of the ocean. You know it's somewhere down there, but finding it, that hope might never come true. This isn't just about a lost plane. It's about the feeling of complete uncertainty. Think about losing a favorite hat in a big, crowded park. You look and look, but eventually, you have to accept it's gone. Now, imagine that hat was a person you loved. The mystery isn't just a puzzle. It's a constant, painful ache for answers that never arrive. A story frozen in time. So, when we think about a pilot who flew into the clouds and simply vanished, we're not just wondering about a mechanical failure. We're thinking about the quiet, sad reality that some stories have no ending. They just stop, mid-sentence, leaving the last chapter unwritten. It reminds us that even with all our knowledge, the world holds secrets too big for us to grasp. And sometimes, the most profound peace comes from accepting that some questions might never have an answer, leaving us only with wonder and the quiet, heavy weight of an enduring loss. The soldier who went AWOL and disappeared. What makes a person choose to vanish completely, leaving everything behind? Imagine a soldier, someone who has committed their life to service. Just ... gone. Not captured, not fallen in battle, but simply missing. We call this going AWOL, absent without leave. It means a soldier has left their post, their duties, without permission. And for a soldier, this isn't just skipping school. It carries immense, life-altering consequences. It's a profound break from duty, a choice that changes everything. Here's the thing. Throughout history, soldiers have faced incredible pressures. The weight of war, strict orders, the constant risk. Sometimes, that pressure becomes too much to bear. It's a very old question. This idea of personal freedom against the demands of a group or a nation. For some, the internal struggle becomes unbearable. and the only way they see out is to disappear into the vastness of the world. Think about a moment in your own life when you felt truly overwhelmed. Maybe it was a huge test you hadn't studied for, or a really big problem with a friend. You might have wished you could just disappear, just for a little while, to escape the pressure. Now, imagine that feeling, but multiplied 1,000 times, with your life on the line, and the whole world expecting you to stay. That's a bit like what some soldiers face. Their choice to go AWOL isn't just about leaving a job. It's about leaving an entire way of life, a sworn promise, often under terrible stress. And that's why these disappearances stay with us. They make us wonder what truly happened inside that person's mind. Did they find peace? Did they find a new life? Or were they lost to something far darker? These stories remind us of the quiet, complex battles people fight within themselves, sometimes leading them to simply fade away, leaving only questions in their wake. The fisherman who never pulled up his nets have. You ever wondered what it would be like if someone just vanished in the middle of doing something, not from home or during a trip, but right in their everyday work? Imagine a fisherman out on the water. His boat is there. His nets are still in the sea, full of catch, waiting. But the fisherman himself, gone, just gone. This isn't a tale of getting lost at sea. It's about an absence so sudden, so complete, it leaves behind a frozen moment. Nets cast, work happening, then silence. No struggle, no storm, just an empty space where a person used to be. Their life's tools remain, telling a silent story of a life suddenly interrupted. Throughout history, whispers of moments like these echo. Empty villages, cooking pots over cold fires, clothes left on the line. It makes you think how our lives are made of small tasks, unfinished threads. Each object we use, each project, ties us to the world. When someone vanishes, those things become quiet witnesses to the life that was, and the mystery of where it went. Think about your backpack open on your desk after school, ready for homework. You plan to finish that math problem or read a chapter. Your pencil rests on the page, half. Now, imagine if you never came back. Your backpack, books, half-done work, they'd sit there, a silent question. What happened? Why was it left just like that? It reminds us how fragile our presence can be. One moment we're busy with simple things, the next, perhaps we're not. These abandoned nets, these silent tools, are more than just evidence. They are a profound reminder of human existence's mystery, and how quickly the known can slip into the unknown. They leave us with questions and a deep, quiet wonder. The woodsman's empty cabin. Have you ever walked into a room, expecting to see someone, only to find it completely empty? Not just empty, but too empty. Like the air itself holds a question mark. That's the feeling that settles over many of these strange disappearances. Imagine a woodsman, deep in the forest. He has his routine, his tools, his simple life. Then, one day, his cabin is found. The fire is out, but the kettle is still on the hook. His half-eaten meal sits on the table. The woodsman, gone, no sign of struggle, no note, just echoing silence where a person should be. This isn't a simple leaving. This is a person, in the middle of their life, simply not there anymore. For as long as people have lived in communities, there have been stories of people just vanishing. It's a primal fear, the idea that someone can be here one moment and gone the next, without explanation. Ancient cultures had myths about gods or spirits taking people away. It was their way of trying to understand something deeply unsettling, the void left behind when someone disappears. They tried to give shape to the mystery, because the unknown is much scarier than even a bad answer. It's kind of like when you're looking for your phone, and you know you just had it. You retrace your steps, you check all the usual spots, but it's just not anywhere. You feel that quick panic, that frustration. Now, imagine that feeling, but instead of your phone, it's a whole person, and that person never reappears, ever. The feeling is that much bigger, that much colder. The empty cabin teaches us about the profound questions absence creates. It's not just about what happened to the woodsman, but about what it means for us, the ones left behind with the unanswered questions. It reminds us of how fragile our presence here can be, and how powerfully a space can speak, even when it's completely silent. It's a quiet wonder, mixed with a deep, unsettling thought. The hunter who went into the forest and wasn't seen. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like if someone you knew, strong and skilled, walked into a familiar place and never came back? Not lost, not hurt, but truly, completely gone. This quiet, haunting disappearance whispers through history. It's the story of the hunter who went into the forest and wasn't seen again. Think about it. A person enters a forest they've known for years, prepared with tools and plans. They cross into the trees. Then, silence. No call, no sign of struggle, just an absence. The familiar forest becomes a vast, silent mystery. It's like the earth simply swallowed them, leaving no trace. For centuries, people have told stories about those lost to the wild. Ancient cultures spoke of spirits, or the land itself claiming someone. These old tales weren't just scary, they tried to understand the impossible. How could a person simply vanish? This touches an old fear, that we are not always in control, that nature holds powers we can barely imagine. Imagine you drop a tiny pebble in a huge, dark ocean. You know it's there somewhere, but the ocean is immense, deep, and ever moving. The pebble is gone. It shows how easily something can be swallowed by something much larger. That feeling of searching for what should be there, but isn't, is deeply unsettling. So, with these disappearances, we feel more than just curious. We feel a deep sense of wonder and a little fear about the quiet power of the world. It reminds us that nature holds profound secrets. Sometimes, even with all our knowledge, we are left to wonder about those who stepped into the unknown and never returned. It's a powerful, somber thought that stays with you. The doctor who left his office and vanished. Have you ever thought about someone just disappearing, not running away or getting lost, but simply vanishing from a very normal day? This isn't an adventure story, it's real life, and the deep, unsettling quiet it leaves behind. Imagine a doctor, perhaps named Dr. Evans. He worked in a quiet office, seeing patients. People knew him. He had a schedule, a routine. One ordinary afternoon, he finished his last patient. He tidied his desk, put on his coat, and locked his office door. Then, he stepped out into the street, and that was it. He was never seen again. No one saw him get into a car or walk away. He just became absent. Here's the thing. Human history holds many such voids. For centuries, people have vanished without explanation. Ancient stories sometimes spoke of people being taken by spirits. Today, we search for scientific answers, for clues, but sometimes there are truly none. Our universe has unseen dark matter, empty spaces we can't grasp, and sometimes people become like those spaces, present one moment, then just gone. Think about finding something you just put down, like your phone. It's completely gone from where you swore it was. That quick, unsettling moment of where did it go? Now, imagine that feeling, but it's a person, someone you knew, someone who was just there. The mystery of a vanishing person isn't only about them, it's about those left behind. It's about endless questions, the heavy silence in a home or a town. It shakes our belief that the world is predictable, that people don't just disappear. It reminds us how fragile our presence here truly is. We feel a deep loss when someone simply ceases to be. It's a quiet heartbreak, a mystery that echoes in our very souls. The shopkeeper who closed up, then disappeared. Imagine locking your store door at night, just like always. You turn out the lights, maybe set the alarm, and head home. But then, the next morning, you're never seen again. What happened? This isn't about someone choosing to run away, or getting lost in a huge wilderness. This is the core mystery here. People who seem to just step out of their ordinary lives, completely, without a whisper of what came next. There are no notes, no signs of struggle, just an empty space where someone used to be. They are simply gone. For thousands of years, humans have wondered about such ancient stories talk about gods taking people up to the sky, or people accidentally stepping into another, unseen world. Even today, with all our cameras, phones, and smart technology everywhere, it still happens. It makes us question how well we truly understand the world around us, or even the people we see and talk to every single day. There's a quiet uncertainty that creeps in when someone just disappears. Here's the thing. Think about a video game you play. Sometimes, a character might glitch and just disappear from the screen, even though they were just there a second ago. You know they were part of the game, and you expect them to be, but now they're just gone. It's confusing, right? This kind of real-life disappearance feels a lot like that glitch, but much sadder, because it's a real person. When a shopkeeper closes their store for the night, it's a normal routine thing we all understand. We expect them to open it again the next morning, ready for another day. We rely on life to follow certain patterns, to make sense, to have a steady flow. But sometimes, that pattern breaks, and it reminds us that even in our most normal, everyday moments, there can be deep, unexplained gaps. It leaves us with a quiet ache, a wonder about the edges of what we understand and what simply isn't there anymore. It makes you think about how fragile our presence can be, and how some stories just don't have an ending we can read. It's a powerful, unsettling thought. The student who skipped school and never came back. Have you ever thought about what it would feel like if someone you knew just vanished, not moved away, not ran off and left a note, but simply wasn't there anymore? It's a question that can make your mind race, isn't it? Imagine a student, maybe someone just like you, deciding to skip a class or two. They walk out of the school gates, perhaps with a little thrill of breaking the rules, thinking they'll be back tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes for them, and no one ever sees them again. Here's the thing about these stories. They are not just old tales. This has actually happened, more often than we might realize, right in our own time. Throughout history, people have gone missing without a trace. It's a deep puzzle, like a piece of a story that's suddenly ripped out, leaving a blank spot. There's no easy answer, no clear reason, just an empty space where a life used to be. And that leaves a quiet emptiness for everyone left behind, full of unanswered questions. It's similar to when you lose something really important to you. Maybe it's a special photo, or a toy you loved when you were younger. You look everywhere, you remember all the places you went, but it's just gone. You keep hoping it will reappear, but after a long time, you start to understand it might not ever come back. Now, imagine that feeling, but for a real person. That's the heavy weight of these disappearances. One moment, they are part of the world, full of thoughts and plans. The next, it's almost as if they were never there at all, and nobody knows why. This might sound unsettling, but it shows us something important. When a person simply vanishes from their life without any clue, it challenges everything we think we know about how safe our world is. It reminds us that sometimes the world holds mysteries so deep, so strange, that they just remain unsolved, echoing in the quiet corners of our thoughts. It makes you pause and think about how fragile life can be, and it makes you realize how every friendship and connection we have is truly special, because you never know what tomorrow might bring. The teacher who didn't come to class one day. Have you ever just ... waited? That feeling, the one where a familiar presence just isn't there, is a strange one. Imagine it's a normal school morning. The bell rings for class, but your teacher, the person who usually starts the day, doesn't walk in. The door stays shut. Minutes tick by. A quiet question starts to spread through the room. It's more than just being late. It's an absence that feels different. A sudden, unexplained blank space where someone important should be. It's not a sick day note on the board. It's just ... nothing. And that nothing can feel very heavy. It creates a silence that speaks louder than any noise. For ages, people have felt this same jolt of confusion and worry. Think about ancient times, before phones or easy travel. If someone vital to a small villager, skilled healer, maybe, or a respected elder just didn't return from a trip, it wasn't just a regular absence, it was a true mystery. People then, like us now, would wonder. They'd feel that empty spot. Where did they go? Why, did something happen? It's a bit like when you plan to meet a friend at the library after school, and you wait, but they never show up. You check your phone, call, text, nothing. You don't just feel annoyed, you feel a little knot of worry, right? That's a tiny bit of what it's like when someone simply vanishes from their regular spot in the world. This isn't always about big, dramatic events. Sometimes, it's just the quiet shock of an empty desk, a silent classroom, the space where a voice used to be, now echoing with unspoken questions. The world keeps turning, but a small piece of it has shifted, and the questions linger. Not just what happened, but what now? Their absence becomes a kind of presence, shaping the space they left empty. That's why these stories, these moments of unexplained absence, stay with us. They remind us how delicate life can be, and how powerfully a mystery can hold our hearts. The neighbor who just packed up and left, no word. Have you ever thought about someone you see often? Perhaps a neighbor, just not being there anymore. Not like they moved away with a big farewell. They simply vanished, like a cloud on a sunny day. One minute, their car is in the driveway, lights on at night. The next, an empty space where they used to be. It's a strange, heavy feeling, right? The idea of a person choosing to just erase themselves from their old life. No note, no forwarding address, not a single hint. Imagine their house, quiet now, Their garden still growing, but no one to tend it. No explanation for the newspaper still on the porch. This isn't about someone getting lost. It's about someone making a deliberate choice to disappear. Humans have always wanted answers. We like stories with clear beginnings and endings. When someone vanishes this way, it leaves a gap in our understanding. It makes us wonder what powerful, private reasons could make a person walk away from everything they knew. Think about your favorite book. What if a main character just isn't in the next chapter? No explanation, they just left the story. You'd feel confused, maybe a little sad, and definitely curious about what happened to them. This kind of vanishing leaves behind so many unanswered questions, not just for police, but for friends, family, and even the neighbors who woke up to an empty house. It shows us how little we truly know about the lives happening right beside us. Each person holds their own universe of thoughts and feelings, and sometimes, for reasons we may never grasp, someone decides to simply close their universe off from everyone else. It's a quiet, deep kind of mystery, a permanent echo of why, that lingers in the silence. The lie of, "I'm just fine." Have you ever been asked, "How are you?" and you just say, "I'm fine." But were you really? This phrase, "I'm just fine," is an old lie we tell ourselves and others. It's like a quick curtain over our real feelings. We use it to avoid explaining, to not seem like a bother, or sometimes, because we haven't figured out how we truly feel. It keeps things moving, avoids the messier truth. Think about it. For a long time, people thought showing emotion was weakness. Being strong meant keeping feelings locked away, especially the sad or scared ones. So, saying "I'm fine" became a quick, easy answer. It helps us fit in, to appear okay, even when a storm brews inside. It's an old habit, keeping distance from what's truly happening. Here's the thing. Imagine a favorite plant. Its leaves droop. Someone asks, and you say, "It's fine." You give it a little water, enough for now. But the soil is dry, the roots thirsty. The plant isn't truly fine, it needs more. That "I'm just fine" is like that water. It covers the problem, but doesn't solve it. The droopy leaves, or heavy heart, remain, and that's why it matters. This lie isn't about feeling bad, it's about understanding ourselves. Sometimes, the bravest thing is to sit with the feeling that isn't fine. It's okay to not be okay. Truly feeling better starts by admitting, even to yourself, you're not fine. It opens the door to becoming fine, for real. The echo of what I wish were true. Have you ever held onto a belief, a quiet hope, even when deep down, a tiny part of you knew it wasn't quite real? It's a whisper, like a faint song playing only in your head. This is the echo of what I wish were true. It's not a loud lie we tell others. Instead, it's a soft one we tell ourselves, often without even realizing it. It's that feeling that something is true, simply because we want it to be. Our minds try to make sense of the world and keep us safe. Sometimes the truth feels harsh. So, our minds create a gentle hum of what we hope is real. People have done this for a long time. Ancient cultures told stories about why the sun crossed the sky or how seasons changed. They did this to explain things, but also to feel like the world was orderly and kind. Philosophers have talked about how much we crave certainty. We'd rather believe a comfortable idea than face a difficult truth. It's part of being human. A good example is the placebo effect. Imagine someone feels sick and they get a sugar pill, but they're told it's powerful medicine. If they truly believe it will help, sometimes their body starts to feel better. The pill itself did nothing. Their body responded to the echo of what they wished was true, that it would make them, well, it's powerful. This echo, it can offer comfort, a moment of peace, or even a push to keep trying. But understanding that it's an echo, not always reality, helps us know ourselves better. It shows how our minds protect us, sometimes by letting us live in the soft light of what we wish were true. It's not about being fooled, it's recognizing how we find sanity in a tricky world.